And now, live from the Steel Twins recording studio in beautiful Traverse City, Michigan, and from Casa del Freytown in Taylor, Michigan, the Outside Blitz presents the fabulous Scotty Freytown and the Cannonball, Alex Steele.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Outside Blitz. I am your host, the fabulous one, Scotty Freytown. Joining me from Traverse City, the Cannonball, Alex Steele. Alex, welcome back to the show.
Hey, good to be back. What up, everybody?
Man, I got to tell you, so we kicked off this morning with a bang. I jumped on. So listen, folks, I jumped on our socials this morning. And,
oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
I can see where this is coming.
Alex, I got to tell you, I sometimes you forget when you jump on Twitter, X, whatever the case may be, sometimes you forget just how toxic of an environment that can be, especially like Vikings Twitter. Very toxic environment when it comes to Vikings Twitter. It's a wild one out there. I just get blown away sometimes by how insane Vikings Twitter can be. Just out of this world. I've gone on rants on this show about how Vikings Twitter is just insane, right? Mm-hmm. It's wild. But the crazy thing about Vikings Twitter, though, is recently and in recent memory has been, and it's been all over the place, the J.J. McCarthy versus Kyler Murray fiasco. I think that's the best thing we can call it at this point. The
Donnybrook.
Yeah, you could call it that. The Donnybrook. I mean, it's craziness. It has been dominating Vikings X Twitter, whatever you want to call it, for months now. It's been the debate. It's been craziness for a while. Everybody's been talking about Viking. Who's going to be the starting Vikings quarterback for months. The battle has been J.J. McCarthy. It's like you had Thor Nystrom, who was he's over on Score North, and I don't have a problem with the guys at Score North. A lot of Vikings Twitter, has a problem with the guys at Score North. I'm not one of those people. I think Score North is a quality organization. Would love to work for them. I think they're just awesome people over there, right? I don't have a problem with them. But one thing I do think is that there's a guy over there by the name of Thor Nystrom who really put his eggs in the J.J. McCarthy basket. You sure it
wasn't his foot in his mouth?
maybe, but he really did. He put his eggs in the J.J. McCarthy basket. He loves him some J.J. McCarthy.
And people are entitled to their opinion. That's true. But you also have the ability to purport for or purport against it.
Yeah, and there is nothing wrong with liking J.J. McCarthy. There are a lot of people out there that do. Here's my thing. And we have been very critical of J.J. McCarthy on this show. And look, this is all before, mind you, I've had my morning coffee. All right. And this is my Profi, if you will, my protein coffee from P&L Coffee for all you folks out here in the Metro Detroit area. If you go to It's Your Time Massage at IYTmassage.com, you can get yourself a coffee, a Profi. This is a s'mores one, which is awesome. You can see it's got all the good stuff, the wonderful stuff. And that is all keto friendly, by the way, which is awesome. But in any case, check out P&L Coffee. But, I haven't even had my coffee yet. All right. And I have been getting just blasted by certain folks on Twitter because I am not a J.J. McCarthy guy. I'm just not. I haven't been a J.J. McCarthy guy. I wasn't a J.J. before the 2024 draft. I was not a J.J. McCarthy guy. I made it clear I wasn't a J.J. McCarthy guy. I made it clear I didn't think J.J. McCarthy was the guy for this team. I made it clear that I didn't think J.J. McCarthy was going to translate to the league. Okay? I made it clear. It wasn't a surprise. I didn't believe in J.J. McCarthy. I said on this show 2 years ago, I sat here 2.5 years ago, I sat here and said what? You do not take a quarterback from a run-first system that hid behind a great run game and a great defense and stick him in a pass-first system and expect him to be successful. You just don't do it. It doesn't make sense. Kevin O'Connell runs a pass-first system, a pass-heavy system, and you expected J.J. McCarthy to be successful here. It's not sensible. And when I told people this on Twitter, I got called a crazy man. I got treated. I got ostracized. Like I didn't know what I was talking about. And now here we are, 2 years after the fact. We have one season, which we'll throw away the first season because he was hurt. I can, all right, injuries happen. But the second season, aside from week 1 against the Bears, what are we talking about? And I understand a lot of people want to point to the last 5 games of the year where J.J. McCarthy did his thing. And, oh, my God, look how good everything looked when we dumbed down the offense. Okay, we want to point to that. We want to point to those games. Well, take a look and look, I believe that who you play matters. I hate this concept of, well, you play who you play. You play who's on your schedule. You play who you play. Oh, that's it. You play who you play, and a win is a win, and da. No, because at the end of the day, and Alex, I've had this debate with you about the Lions, and I've had the same debate, and I can't get behind that, because when it comes to nut cutting time, when you get to the playoffs, when you get to that first round, when you get to the first round of the playoffs, and the real teams are waiting for you, okay, that's when it gets real. And when those real teams eliminate you in the first round, you're the same people that are saying a win is a win, but then you're the same people going, well, what happened when you got eliminated in the first round? You're the same guys that are doing that. So don't sit here and give me the win is a win bullshit, because that's what it is. It's bullshit. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and do this win is a win stuff. I don't let the Detroit fans get away with it. I'm not going to let my Vikings fans get away with it. I don't let people get away with that shit. Don't give me a win as a win, okay? The bottom line is J.J. McCarthy at the end of the season, while he looked decent, and I'm not going to say he looked great because he fooled a lot of people in those games. Take a look at the Washington game, because in the Washington game, okay, 16 for 23. I get it. People getting excited about 16 for 23, 151 yards. Everybody got excited. Okay. Take a look at what actually happened in that game. Alex, let me ask you a question. In that Washington game, that Vikings versus Washington game, how many points did the Washington Commanders score in that game?
I don't have the numbers in front of me. I'm actually going to look that up right now. I'm looking at this player guys. But go ahead and go.
I already know. I'll tell you right now. It was 0 points, which means what? That your defense did its job.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what. Yeah, J.J. McCarthy had 151 yards passing in that game. But you know how many rushing yards we had in that game? 163. So you mean to tell me, oh, hey, wait a minute. What did I just get done saying about J.J. McCarthy in college? Oh, he hid behind a great run game and a great defense? And next thing you know, the great run game goes out against Washington and has over 162. So wait a minute. You mean to tell me they had more rushing yards than passing yards against Washington? And the defense shut out the Washington offense? Huh. I mean, like, what are we talking about? And then people are like, well, he did really well against Dallas. The Dallas Cowboys literally had the worst passing defense in all of football last year. The worst. They were dead last in passing defense. You're going to sit here and that's going to be the big thing. You're going to put him up on a pedestal for? That's what we're doing? Come on, guys. We're better than this. And then you're going to get excited. Oh, well, he beat the Lions. The Lions' defense was terrible last year. They had a terrible defense. Oh, well, he beat the Giants. The Giants was terrible last year. These are terrible teams. And it's great that he's beating bad teams. Okay. It's good that he's at least beating the teams he should beat, I guess. But is that really going to matter when you get to the playoffs? Because at the end of the day, unless you win the last game of the year, nobody gives a shit. Nobody cares. Unless there's a Lombardi trophy in the trophy case, nobody gives a shit. That's my bar. I don't know about anybody else, but I mean, I'm not here going, hey, I want to make it to the first round of the playoffs and get eliminated. Who sits there with that mentality? I don't. You got Lions fans sitting there going, I want a Lombardi. You got Packers fans sitting there going, I want a Lombardi. You got Chicago fans sitting there going, we want a Lombardi, and we're going to do it this year. You got Vikings fans going into this season going, I want to make the first round of the playoffs and get eliminated. What is this? What is this mentality? I don't get it. And I watched J.J. McCarthy fool a lot of people at the end of last year. Fool them. He has a ton of people fooled, thinking that he's somehow figured it out, that he has somehow just found out a way to figure this whole thing out, that all dummying down the offense has figured it out. And I watched Thor Nystrom yesterday sit there and say, oh, well, you're really going to have to dummy this thing down for Kyler Murray. And blah, 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 blah.
Nah.
Thor Nystrom on Score North. Excuse me. I have been dying because of the smog, by the way, from the wildfires. But Thor Nystrom sat there and he basically crapped all over the game of Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray, the one thing you really got to worry about with Kyler Murray right now probably is the injuries thing. That's probably about it. And if Kyler Murray stays healthy, you really got a shot. I really believe that, especially with this head coach. I mean, that's what it is. And trust me, I would love. Look, I've been a fan of this team since 1994. I've been a Vikings fan for 32 years now. I have watched quarterback after quarterback after quarterback come through the door. I have. It's been a turnstile of quarterbacks. I mean, you want to talk just an insane number of quarterbacks that we have seen in a 32-year span since 1994. I just
you're right. It's like, I've been a Lions fan, my entire life. I remember going to the games in Pontiac, going to the Silver Dome and all that stuff. I understand the consternation here. I understand the desire to get to the promised land, but
listen to this. Just listen to this. Warren Moon, Brad Johnson, Randall Cunningham, Dante Culpepper, Brett Favre, Kirk Cousins, Jeff George, Todd Bowman, Spurgeon Wynn, Gus Farad, Tavares Jackson, Kelly Holcomb, Brooks Bollinger, Joe Webb, Donovan McNabb, Christian Ponder, Matt Castle, Josh Freeman, Teddy Bridgewater, Sean Hill, Sam Bradford, Case Keenum, Sean Mannion, Josh Dobbs, Nick Mullins, Jaron Hall, Sam Darnold.
That's a lot.
And that's not even including all of them. I mean, we haven't even talked about Carson Wentz, J.J. McCarthy. I mean, it's a ton. I get it. I understand how the Vikings fans are hankering for a savior at the quarterback position. They've been wanting it. They've been hankering for it for decades at this stage, right? Everybody's been waiting for the next guy to come in since Tarkenton. Okay, that's who everybody wants. Their next Tarkenton. McCarthy ain't that guy, in my opinion. I don't think he is. But I look over and I go, what is this? Why are people so fooled? And the Vikings fans. At some point they're going to have to come together. And whether it's Kyler or whether it's McCarthy. The Vikings fans are going to have to come together and support the quarterback that gets named as the starter. I'm a Kyler Murray guy. I hope Kyler Murray gets named the starter because I don't believe in J.J. McCarthy. I haven't believed in J.J. McCarthy since the kid got drafted. And that was another thing. I got slammed this morning on Twitter. Well, you don't know anything about ball. You don't know anything. You don't know what you're talking about. You're just a wannabe podcaster. I started this podcast for fun, folks. 8 years ago, I started this podcast just for the hell of it, just for a good time, for fun. And it's grown into something a little bigger than I anticipated, and it's been fun doing it. But one thing I will say is 2 years ago, I got blasted on Vikings Twitter for saying that I wanted Bo Nix to be the Vikings starting quarterback. I wanted Bo Nix. I was told that Bo Nix was too old and he didn't have the arm and that he wasn't going to be good. here we are 2 years later. Bo Nix is probably one of, if not the best of the bunch.
Yep. And given the fact also that his team made it to the AFC Championship game against the Patriots last year, and were it not for the fact that Bo Nix got hurt, broke his foot in that AFC title game, the Denver Broncos would have made it to the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Bo Nix was on fire last year. He has probably been the best of the group. I got blasted for that. I got blasted for thinking Bo Nix would be a best fit for this team. I don't get it. I don't get what, you can say what you want about this podcast, but we have said a lot of stuff on this show that has been spot on correct. And so far we've been spot on correct about JJ McCarthy. So far we've been spot on correct about guys like Bo Nix. There's been some stuff where, hey, we didn't hit on, right? But a lot of stuff we've been spot on.
We bid on the hook of Josh Rosen. If anybody remembers Josh Rosen, he wasn't.
I'll take the full bite on that one. But if Tyler was back on the show, he bid on the hook of Josh Allen.
Yeah.
We've had guys hey, you win some, you lose some. In this situation, though, I knew that J.J. McCarthy wasn't going to be it. And I'm sorry, the he's a winner routine just isn't it. He's a winner. Well, what the hell does that mean? Well, he's a winner. Oh, okay. Well, he never lost anywhere. Well, maybe that's because the teams took the ball out of his hands. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe that's why he's a winner. He was a handoff merchant. That's what he was. That's what he's always been. He's been a handoff merchant. I don't understand why anybody is surprised by this. So as for McCarthy, it's not that I don't want the kid to be great. I want him to be good. I wanted to be wrong. When he got drafted, I said on this show, I want to be wrong so bad. Because I did. I wanted to have the next Brady in Minnesota. That's what I wanted. Who wouldn't want that for your team? I want so desperately for the Minnesota Vikings to give me a Super Bowl. So desperately. There will be tears of joy when it happens. But goodness gracious. At this stage, for me to believe that J.J. McCarthy ain't it, people shouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's insane to me that people and guys like Thor Nystrom right now are just, I feel like Thor right now hooked his wagon so heavily to the J.J. McCarthy wagon that he's almost afraid of being wrong on that situation, because he really did hook his wagon hard to it. I mean, in my opinion, he did. I looked over and went, man, and I have seen people just dragging this guy, and this is one of those occasions where, look, man, there ain't nothing wrong with being wrong. I've been wrong in the past. There ain't nothing wrong with being wrong. In this situation, look, Thor, I think you got to take the L on this one and understand that J.J. McCarthy ain't it. He ain't it. And Kyler Murray, he might be it. He might be better in this situation. A lot of people, and that's another thing. One thing I want to throw out there about this situation as well is there's a lot of folks that are concerned about what if Kyler Murray does well? What if Kyler Murray is, a successful quarterback in Minnesota and we don't get a championship, but he has a good season like Darnold did? Are we going to go and throw $40 million at him? It's like they're over here acting like the Tiger King. I'm never going to financially recover from this. It's like, what is this? Yeah, you're going to pay the guy if he does well. I mean, is he going to wind up? But if you look at Darnold's situation, well, when Darnold left Minnesota and he did well, when Darnold left, Darnold got paid $35 million over 3 years, which realistically was a very, very reasonable contract. And I was surprised that Kwesi Adofo-Mensah didn't pay it. He got paid $35 million a year over 3 years. And only the first year was fully guaranteed. If Kyler does well with the way the salary cap has risen and Kyler Murray does extremely well. And he goes, I want $40 million or $45 million a year over the next 3 years. Mm-hmm. And I want only the first year guaranteed. Okay. I think people are afraid to go back to the drawing board because of what's happened with McCarthy. And I wouldn't blame them for that either. You know, the whole situation with McCarthy would scare the crap out of me too. If it came to drafting another quarterback, I'd be scared too. People were scared after the Ponder situation. People are scared to go back to the drawing board. I get it, but we might have to, because you drafted the wrong guy. You went in, you went to the well, and you picked out the wrong guy. You went to the crane machine and you went after and you got the wrong stuffed animal, and that's just what it is. Right?
Yep.
It's just the bottom line.
Yep.
You got the wrong one.
At the end of the day, yep, you got the wrong one. You know, we've seen, you know, how Sam Darnold has struggled throughout the course of his career, you know, where the first couple of years of his career, he wasn't that good. You know, he was drafted in 2018 with the New York Jets. His first game of the season as a Lions fan, I will remember, was against a Detroit Lions team led by Matt Patricia. And, you know, that Lions team would have beaten the brakes off of that Jets team if Matt Patricia wasn't a jackass. But that's just you know, a different story for a different day. Yeah. But over the course of his career, you know, he slummed in New York. He struggled in Carolina. Then he really started to pick up steam in San Francisco, where he went to a decent team where he didn't get that many snaps, but he learned. He learned behind the veteran quarterback that was there. I believe it was the Garoppolo or Kaepernick. That was 23. It had to have been Garoppolo. Yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo. Then he gets into Minnesota, and we've said it on this show before how Kevin O'Connell, the head coach, you know, has taken quarterbacks and made them his personal quarterback reclamation projects. And Sam Darnold was very successful. So we thought that same magic was going to happen with J.J. McCarthy, and, you know, at least – well, some of us thought, and it turns out they were wrong. You know, he did not pan out. So Kyler Murray is the next guy up, behind under center, and you know he's already had varying degrees of success in Arizona. I really think that there's been some problems between him and the head coach staff over there, but at the end of the day, Kyler Murray has the ability to be molded further despite his age. And going to a decent team like the Minnesota Vikings will give him the chance he needs to break out and get to that next level.
Yeah, I agree. And that's one thing. So there's been a lot of talk about Kyler Murray. A lot of people saying, oh, well, look at the situation. Look what he did in Arizona. And he fell apart in Arizona, and he got replaced by Jacoby Brissett and this and that. Okay, well, hang on a minute. We'll start with this. First of all, his best years, if you look at Kyler Murray, some of his best years came under Cliff Kingsbury over there. Cliff Kingsbury was is really an offensive genius. That guy is really a solid offensive mind. And Kyler Murray did really well with really good number one receivers over there. If you look at what he did with DeAndre Hopkins as his number one, DeAndre Hopkins got peppered with targets over there. Kyler Murray, I mean, he started the season 8-0 over there with the Arizona Cardinals one season, if you recall. I think it was 8-0. They were on a roll, and granted, it fell apart near the end of the season. However, they started 8-0, and DeAndre Hopkins, if I'm not mistaken, he posted like 1,600 yards that season. I mean, it was a wild season, and I mean, Murray looked good. He really did. He really looked good that season. I'm a little surprised at how people forget about that. Imagine him hyper targeting a wide receiver like Justin Jefferson.
Ooh.
Imagine that. Imagine how much he's going to hyper target Jefferson. Imagine how much he's going to hyper target. And my understanding, he's been out there in Texas working out with Jordan Addison. Imagine how well he's going to work with Jordan Addison out there as the number two. I mean, there's going to be things going on with Kyler Murray these guys are going to connect. These guys, there's going to be something going on there that's going to work out for Kyler Murray, I believe. And if you remember where Kevin O'Connell and Cliff Kingsbury both came from, they both came from the same place, the Shanahan tree. So I just, can we put all this together here? I mean, these guys are very similar in the way in their coaching styles. I just really think people need to start thinking a little more optimistically when it comes to Kyler Murray. And if we're going to find out, really, we have an opportunity to find out this year, what was the problem in Arizona, especially this last season, when it came to Kyler Murray, because Drew Petzing is no longer in Arizona. They have a whole new coaching regime in Arizona. You have Kyler Murray is now in Minnesota. Drew Petzing's in Detroit. If Detroit's offense struggles and Kyler Murray does well in Minnesota, you're going to find out that, oh, well, maybe Drew Petzing was the problem. Or maybe, you know, their former head coach was Jonathan Gannon. He was a defensive head coach. Maybe Jonathan Gannon was the problem. You're going to find out who the problem was. You know, there's going to be a lot of questions there. So, I mean, that's going to be a thing pretty quick here. So, I mean, people need to consider that. You know,
yeah,
I really do think there's going to be there's going to be a lot of things, a lot of factors to consider here.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of unknowns and a lot of variables out there, and and honestly, it's one of those things. I say this all the time. I'll believe it when I see it. You know, I've kind of gotten to that point because I used to put, you know, quote unquote blind faith into, you know, oh, the Lions are going to do good this year. You know, and they, you know, to their credit, you know, they think they made number 1 seed, but then they got blasted in a divisional round. Since that time, I've really taken stock in what, you know, the team has done, what the general manager has done. I know we're pivoting from the Kyler Murray to the Lions. The point that I'm making with this transition is that over time, you know, at this point you have to see it to truly believe it, you know. And we only got a couple weeks till football really becomes, you know, front and center, you know, and we're about a month and a half away from the start of the season. So right. You know, and you know, as we'll get to in the news, you know, teams have started to report to training camp. You know, the veterans on the Panthers and the Cardinals are the first teams to fully report to training camp ahead of the 2026 NFL season, ironically, because in about 2 weeks' time, these two teams will be facing off against each other in the Hall of Fame game, which, okay, don't pack any popcorn for that because, you know, it's the Cardinals and the Panthers. The Hall of Fame game is mostly just a, yay, football's back celebration, and it's an exhibition. Yeah, and you're not going to get a whole lot of offense, especially you're going to get third and fourth stringers. Opportunity to see if there's a player out there that can make the final roster and move up the depth chart, sure, but you know, don't expect a banger, you know, with these two teams. But as we get in the news and notes, though, as teams report to training camp and as they go through stuff, injuries happen.
Yeah, injuries do happen. We got a lot going on as far as the training camp goes. But to close out my thought here real quick, Vikings fans, eventually we're going to have to come together here and accept whoever that they decide to make their starting quarterback. I'm just going to throw that out there. But listen, you want to come at me at Twitter? And by the way, yeah, we don't have a lot of followers on Twitter. You guys can feel free to give us a follow on the Twitter machine. I wouldn't mind that at all. But don't judge a book by its cover here, folks. I know our social media presence isn't always the best it needs to be out there, and we're going to work on that. But go ahead and give us a follow and give us more of that listenership. We'd appreciate that. But moving into the training camp stuff, let's jump into some of the news around the league, okay? Jumping into some of that stuff, you were talking about injuries. Yeah, let's talk about some of them Panther injuries. Buddy, Nick Thornton this week. Second-year linebacker Nick Scorton suffers torn ACL in training camp. It was horrible.
Oh,
yeah, just
no.
not good news for him. Dude,
yeah,
this is bad news Bears.
Yeah, and he had a very promising rookie career in front of him, and
no.
Yeah, and and now it's like now he's just going to be sitting on the sidelines. You hate to see it.
You do. It's bad. I was not a big fan of this injury happening. Obviously, I'm not a big fan of any injury happening, but this one was just extremely sad to hear about because Scorton, he had 4 sacks last year, if I'm not mistaken, put up some really solid grades on Pro Football Focus, had himself a really, really promising rookie campaign. Jumps into his what was looking like a very promising sophomore season here, and not looking very good for him. So he's going to miss the 2026-27 season here. So the Panthers are going to be back to the drawing board here, looking for a new linebacker to take his spot. Not sure who's going to jump into that role, but man, what a horrible time to have an injury to a key player on that defense. The Panthers coming off of a division win here. They just literally won their division last year. Not a good time to have this happen when you're looking to repeat. Alex, this is, and the Panthers, by the way, ton of injuries for them going into training camp, ton of stuff they're dealing with here. They're also dealing with offensive tackle Ike Mekwonu. He's got a knee injury. He's placed on the PUP list. There is, quote unquote, definitely some optimism that Ike Mekwonu will play this season. General Manager Dan Morgan said on Wednesday, Ekwonu suffered a ruptured patellar tendon in Carolina's wild card loss back in January. So, we don't know when Ekwonu's going to be back. That's a thing currently. So the Panthers dealing with that as well. So you're Ekwonu, if you remember, former first-round pick. They're dealing with that injury. They're also dealing. So get this. Not only are they missing their left tackle in Ekwonu, but they're also missing their right tackle Taylor Moton. He's set to miss the start of the season due to blood clots. So that's a little problematic. They're going to have the rookie first-round pick Monroe Freeling. If you recall, he was a big pickup. He's going to be taking his spot, but Taylor Moton. So they're going to be missing both of their starting offensive tackles to start the season. And they're going to be missing Nick Scorton, who's their starting basically outside linebacker, but he's an edge rusher essentially. This is not a good start for the Carolina Panthers in training camp here, is it?
No, really. Monroe Freeling getting the opportunity to start, in his rookie season, is, some sort of a Band-Aid to put over the stab wound. But if we always play a little game called the schedule game. And if you play the schedule game, you'll notice that, they got the Chicago Bears to start the season, which that'll be a test in and of itself. Because if you recall, they had a matchup against the Bears in that divisional in that wild card round. Was it wild card or divisional? Yeah, it was a wild card round because the divisional was wild card was against the Packers. Divisional round was against. I'm sorry, I'm getting my stuff mixed up. Point is, it's going to be rough. The Chicago Bears are probably one of the most improved teams in the league. Then you got, Falcons, Browns. You're basically going up against, teams from the NFC North. That's never fun.
One thing I want to point out about the Falcons, the one thing that the Falcons did last year, if you recall, in the NFL draft, first round, they went and drafted double edge rushers. Double big-time edge rushers. And even though one of them just got in trouble with the law recently, he is no longer really in trouble with the law, and he's going to be out on the field in week 1, ready and raring to go. So, in Pierce. So you're going to have both those edge rushers out there ready to attack, and you're going to be starting a rookie offensive tackle in Monroe Freeling, and whoever the hell else is going to wind up taking the spot of Ike Mekwonu. It's a little problematic for Carolina right now.
Yeah, and you got the Falcons in week 2, and then you're closing the season against them. So, it could come down. The NFC South the last couple of years has come down to that week 18 matchup. And really, There was a situation last year where it was like Tampa Bay needed help to even get into the playoffs. All Carolina had to do was, win their division, win and you're in. They controlled their destiny.
Yeah.
So that situation could rear its ugly head too. So, yeah, I mean, it's a problem. It's a real big problem.
Those are three huge injuries to be dealing with.
One more quick note. You want to know what other division they've got problems with? The AFC North. One of the hardest hitting divisions in football. Cleveland Browns week 13, Baltimore Ravens, and then they got the Bengals and the Steelers back to back. And they got the world champion Seahawks on top of that. It's gonna be rough.
Yeah, I don't see the Panthers having a repeat performance of last year. I think this is going to be one of those tough years. Even though Bryce Young seemed to sort of put it together near the end of last season, I don't see a repeat performance here late in the season. We've talked about the Cardinals quite a bit, but they've got a lot going on as well. Let's talk about Jacoby Brissett. Cardinals quarterback Jacoby Brissett, who is seeking a new contract, will practice at training camp. That's what Mike LaFleur said, the head coach. Brissett is looking for a new contract. Get this, comparable to other starting contracts. He's reported to training camp, and per LaFleur, he will not be a hold-in. But he is seeking a contract that is comparable to other starting contracts. Well, if that's any indication,
here's my question: define other starting quarterbacks. Which ones?
Here's my thing. So, like, to me, and this is just to me. So, like, a low end starting quarterback right now, and I'll use the term low end, and I kind of use that kind of iffy, really. If you look at, say, Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones got signed to $45 million. So the question comes in: is Daniel Jones? Well, I don't even think Daniel Jones is worth $45 million. Is Jacoby Brissett worth $45 million?
Oh, hell no!
Yeah, it's yeah. I know he is not worth $45 million. No, absolutely. The man went 1-11 last year. Like there were moments. I think a lot of times, especially when it comes to Jacoby Brissett in this situation, and I think people get a little, I don't want to say confused, because maybe that's not the word, but people get a little distracted sometimes, I guess, by how good a guy does in certain things, like, for example, fantasy football versus real life, right? Because, like, I think some people think Jacoby Brissett did really well last year. And if you were to look at his fantasy football numbers at the latter part of the season, from a fantasy football perspective, not too shabby. Okay. Right. He actually, I think it was like quarterback 8 or something like that. It was like some ridiculous thing. The problem is that in real life, in reality, Jacoby Brissett really wasn't that good. He did not play well. And the reason he did well is because he ran a lot. The reason he did, well in fantasy football is because, he was getting a lot of help from guys like Michael Wilson. There was a lot of things. I think people kind of got fooled by certain things. The fantasy football numbers don't exactly equate to hey, my real life numbers. Yeah. And I think some people got fooled by that. Jacoby Brissett is not worth the starting quarterback money right now. And
here's some more evidence to support that fact. Overall grades for the year of 2025. Offense overall, 71.1. Passing grade, 69.1. So we're talking sub 70. 68.9 run grade, and a 52.2 fumble grade. So he was meh with the fumbles. Yep. He's had, I don't know how many times he's fumbled the ball specifically. I'm trying to find it. But he's had 16 dropped passes, he's had, DPR, sacks. I mean, he was sacked. He was sacked. Sacked 43 times. That doesn't make any sense. The number of times the passer was sacked. He was sacked quite a lot.
Yeah, he was sacked a lot. They didn't have a really good offensive line, sure, but there was a lot of times where he would invoke his own pressures, and that was problematic too.
Mm-hmm.
Jacoby Brissett is not a starting quarterback in this league. I think Jacoby Brissett to me kind of reminds me of he's very much in the Tyrod Taylor sort of discussion where he's kind of that journeyman that kind of is a bridge quarterback for a guy where it's like, hey, I'm filling in and I'm going to, transition over to the new hot rookie coming over. I think Jacoby Brissett is kind of in that discussion now. And if I was a team, if Jacoby Brissett's out there as a free agent and it's just like, all right, I got this rookie coming in and I want Jacoby Brissett to be my Tyrod Taylor so my Justin Herbert can come in, okay, I kind of get it. But I just, this is not, this is not a guy that you should be paying $45 million to.
No, sir.
This is not that guy.
I would probably give him 35, and that's being generous.
That's being way generous. That's being way more generous than I'd be. And I'd bet dollars to donuts that the Cardinals aren't going to pay him. I'll bet you dollars to donuts that you're going to see Carson Beck as the starter at some point this year. I said it earlier on an earlier episode. I think Carson Beck's going to wind up being the starter. And I'll bet you good money that I think Carson Beck is going to wind up being their long-term starter, down the stretch. At least they're going to try and make him their long-term starter down the stretch. And the Cardinals have other issues. Left tackle Paris Johnson. He was placed on the PUP list due to a knee injury. Mike LaFleur, their head coach, he's told reporters that Johnson won't practice before the team's first day off on Monday, but noted that it's just maintenance stuff, quote unquote, and that he'll be back before you know it. So that's some good news. Paris Johnson, you don't want to not have your starting left tackle out there. He is a key cog on that offensive line. Also, edge rusher Josh Sweat, he was placed on the PUP list with a knee injury. LaFleur told reporters that Sweat won't practice before the first team first day off on Monday. But as with Johnson, he said that Sweat's placement was mostly due to maintenance. So at least you don't have two of your key cogs out. That'd be horrible for the Cardinals. But those guys will be back. Just maintenance related stuff. Good news for the Cardinals. But man, you want to make sure that those guys are back on the field. Especially not dealing with lower body injuries.
As soon as possible.
Yeah, that would be ideal. Also, a guy that was dealing with an injury. We're going to talk about him. Alex, you guys have been pretty vocal about him. I haven't said much. Boots has been pretty vocal about this. But Patrick Mahomes has been fully cleared.
Wow.
To practice and training camp.
I mean, good for him. But I mean, we know Boots is, Boots' consternation is that, that injury is still pretty fresh.
I don't know how. I don't know how he's back. I don't know. I mean,
do we need to test? Do we need to send him a blood test for, alien DNA? I mean, this was week 15. He tore that ACL. It usually takes 6 months to get to a point where you can really start warming up again. I mean, in an ACL tear, 6 months isn't that much, if you're just a Joe Blow going to work and maybe working at the roofing job or in a warehouse. But, with professional football, you're only active 17, 18, 20 weeks out of the year. So
to be fully cleared for training camp at this point,
it's insane. I mean, I don't know. I have questions. And the highest one among them is, are they just trying to save face? Are they trying to get, people excited about the season? How good is his surgeon and can I get his number? It's like, we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing here? So,
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, this is my take on it. I will believe it when I see it. I will believe it when I see him dropping back in the pocket, making those last minute plays and just being Patrick Mahomes,
Yeah.
And I'll see it when he starts, writhing on the ground, tweaking his knee, going, up, yeah. Well, we tell you,
Yeah.
I will have that ready, and I'm sure Boots will too.
Yeah, it's wild to see that he's been cleared. I can't believe he's been cleared. This is
I do think that
insanity.
I do think this is interesting. Eric Bieniemy is actually returning as the Chiefs' offensive coordinator this year. So we definitely need to keep an earmark on that. But is that still going to be enough, or is the team just going to rely on the fact that Patrick Mahomes is the guy?
Well, I think Bieniemy being back is a huge thing. I mean, you have Eric Bieniemy coming back, and you remember they had their best years on offense with Bieniemy at the helm. Mm-hmm. He always was. I mean, their offenses were always so high powered. I think you're going to see this Chiefs offense be way more high powered, and it's going to change a lot. Bieniemy's a great offensive mind. I'm amazed that he hasn't become a head coach yet.
Yeah, I don't understand it. He would be a head coach, anywhere in the league.
Yeah, he could be. I don't understand how nobody's hired him for that job.
Perhaps he's the heir apparent to Andy Reid when Andy Reid retires. Have you seen how much weight that man has dropped?
Yeah, he looks great, by the way. Well, he looks great, but it's also a little scary because Big Red doesn't look as big as Big Red normally looks. So I'm a little surprised by that. But I digress. Moving into also really quick, the Chiefs, they also unveiled their renderings of their new dome stadium set to open in 2031 in Kansas City, Kansas. One thing I really thought was interesting about that new stadium, they have the natural daylight roof, which I think is really cool. That dome stadium, they're going kind of the route of the kind of like the Vikings have with the
U.S. Bank.
U.S. Bank with the open top, sort of in a way. It's got that kind of that glass top where you can kind of see everything. That plexiglass. It's pretty cool. I like the natural light look. And I really like that a lot. So the initial renderings make that stadium look very futuristic. It looks really nice. Even though I know Boots hates the indoor thing, and I know that we call it glamping and whatever else. Glamping. But it is a really nice looking stadium. It's pretty sharp. And I know it's going to be sad to see them move away from the current stadium in Arrowhead, but this new stadium is really sharp.
Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, it's the Arrowhead has consistently been one of the loudest stadiums in the league. So do we get to have that sort of audio retention? Does the domed top, kind of add to that? I'd be interested to see that.
Yeah, that's one thing that they were talking about is they're actually looking to keep, and they mentioned that actually in their presser that it's consistently been one of the loudest stadiums, and they want to make it and continue to make it one of the loudest stadiums in the league. It's apparently going to hold some 70,000 people, if I'm not mistaken. So it's going to be one of the biggest stadiums in the NFL, which is exciting for them as well. It's just going to be a really cool thing. It looks like a state-of-the-art type of building. So we'll see how it looks. But it's going to be a really rock solid stadium for the Chiefs, set to open in 2031. So we're going to be seeing it in about 5 years' time. We're going to see it. Next up, let's talk about the Baltimore Ravens. Sad news for you, Alex. They went and waived undrafted free agent rookie Diego Pavia. But the Ravens, they needed a center. It looks like they're going to be signing center Ethan Pacic. So they needed a center, which I understand. I'm a little surprised that they got rid of Pavia in this situation. Little surprised that Pavia hasn't garnered more interest. Look, we understand there's kind of an attitude issue there. Pacic is one of those guys that, we expected to get signed pretty quickly after he got cleared. The Ravens, they needed a guy that is a, veteran. They needed a veteran center after Linderbaum left. they go and get their guy, right? But
Yeah.
Pavia being gone, this one's just, it's weird, especially with some of the guys that they kept on the team, some of the quarterbacks they kept in that room. It's like, what are we doing? I'm a little surprised. I'm surprised that a Heisman finalist didn't end up garnering enough interest to wind up getting drafted, and that he went as a UDFA. I understand, like I said, there's attitude issues there, and people are kind of like, well, I don't like the idea of him flipping people the bird at the Heisman thing, and I don't like the way he's acted in different interviews. I don't like this and I don't like that. There's definitely a character question there. But Diego Pavia, to me, could fit somewhere. I'm a little surprised that somebody didn't make it a point to go and pick that young man up. What say you?
I mean, NFL. There are some NFL teams that would be complete idiots to pass up on this kid, to not snap him up, because yes, you got the attitude problem, but he has talent. He is an incredibly talented young man. Why don't we take a look at the numbers? If we go to Pro Football Focus and we take a look at his 2025 stats with the Vanderbilt Commodores, he popped a 92.2 overall offensive grade, a 90.7 pass grade, an 82.1 run grade. The man, has, he amassed 29 pass touchdowns for 8. He only had 8 picks. Threw for over 3,500 yards, and had a 70.4 completion percentage, And Vanderbilt is not one of those SEC teams that, that are all world beaters. They've long been the laughing stock of the SEC, but with this kid, he's a competitor. That's the key thing you have to understand here, kids. Diego Pavia is a competitor, kind of like Baker Mayfield. Yes, he's brash, he's got a bit of an attitude, but you know what? Sometimes you need that attitude, especially when it comes to nut cutting time. And I'm pretty sure that there are a couple of NFL teams. I know that there are a few NFL teams out there that are looking at the situation and going, "Hey, he'd be a pretty good backup. Hey, Brad, ding ding, can we get him on the phone?" I mean, we already know Hendon Hooker, bit the dust as a draft pick. Why don't we have Diego Pavia sit behind Jared Goff? Or there could be other places he could benefit to be at. I bet you he could beat out J.J. McCarthy in Minnesota. He absolutely could. He'd beat the brakes off of him.
Yeah, I like. I think Diego Pavia, there are so many places where he could go and be successful. There are a lot of teams that I think could really use a solid quarterback. Really, I do. If you look at how about just a few interesting thoughts? How about a place like the Chargers? Think about their backup quarterback situation over there. They have Easton Stick over there. I mean, how about a backup quarterback for exactly? How about a backup quarterback for Justin Herbert? That would be a smart play for them. If you want to go and take a look at the quarterback situation with the Vegas Raiders, you don't know how long Kirk Cousins is going to wind up being there. You could take Kirk Cousins. If he winds up going out the door, you don't know how long Kirk's going to be there. Hey, all right, see you later, Kirk. Send him out the door. There are options here for what you could do with a guy like Kirk Cousins. Diego Pavia has landing spots. It's just a matter of who's going to make the move, right? I think the Minnesota Vikings would be an ideal spot. You mentioned how you think he could beat out J.J. McCarthy. I'm with you there. I think he beat out J.J. McCarthy. What's interesting about Pavia is he's about the same size as Kyler Murray. So it's like, okay, these guys are both the same height-wise. If you're really going to roll with Kyler Murray, okay, well, why don't you get a guy you could probably call Kyler Murray light, really. I think that would be an interesting look. There's a lot of interesting stuff that you could do with a guy like a Diego Pavia. I'm a little surprised that more teams haven't showed interest. It's interesting that he's still floating around out there, though. I'm a little baffled by the fact that he is not being considered long-term by any teams right now. I was just blown away by the fact that he went undrafted. That seems just so outrageously silly to me that he went undrafted the way he did. Also, let's go ahead and talk about some of these other squads out here. Like, let's talk about the Jaguars. Head coach Liam Cohen, and this bastard, that Liam Cohen. I want to talk about him a little bit. Hyping up running back Bashal Tutin, saying that he expects Tutin to, quote unquote, have a big year. Alex, now listen.
I know where you're going with this.
He said that we thought 2 years ago that we sat next to Liam Cohen, about a year and a half ago. We sat next to Liam Cohen at that combine. I still believe it. I believe that we sat next to Liam Cohen at the combine. Bashal Tutin finally getting the opportunity to be the running back one over there with the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think that is going to happen this year. I don't think anybody is really going to, some people think Chris Rodriguez is going to take that job. I think Tutin is RB1 over there. I don't think Rodriguez is taking that job. I think Bashal Tutin's in line for a big, big season. I think it's coming. Okay.
Yep. So let's. Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Let's just take a look. When you look at his Pro Football Focus grades from last year, they're a bit deceptive. And you have to understand that Bashal Tutin was the backup behind Tank Bigsby and the other person whose name escapes me at the moment.
Travis Etienne.
So Travis Etienne, because Etienne was the bell cow back for so long. Now that Etienne's out the door, now it's like, okay, Basil's, come on, step up to the plate, see what you got. Even when he only played 111 snaps, he still had 87 rushing attempts for 358 yards. And he didn't play like an entire season, but for the time he spent on the field, he popped a 66 offensive grade, a 67 running grade, and a 52.3 run blocking grade. Did pretty good with the fumbles too. He only fumbled one time, So I really think I wholeheartedly agree. I think Bashal Tutin is poised to have himself a knockdown, drag out year, because last year was his rookie season. Now he's going to step up to the big time. This is a fourth round pick that we always talk about the diamonds in the rough. Well, he is definitely one of those guys. And again, that whoever that gentleman was that was sitting in a leather jacket looking like Liam Cohen, we will find you one of these days. The first time we have a live show and we announce it, we are calling you out, brother. Just let you know, we're looking for you.
Yeah, I still believe that was Liam Cohen. But listen, at the end of the day, I think Bashal Tutin, one thing that stood out about the numbers, and you had them pulled up on your channel, and I've got your channel pulled up on my screen here as well. You had Bashal Tutin's numbers pulled up here. Take a look at his numbers from the LA Chargers. He had 18 snaps, he had 15 attempts, and he had 74 yards against an LA Chargers team that is actually very good on defense. And that was in week 11. And he had a touchdown in that game as well. Take a look at that. That looks like starting numbers to me, right? You give the guy 15 carries, he puts up 74 yards and a TD. He had a 4.9 average in that day against a really, really good Chargers defense. I think that says everything you need to see right there. And if you look at the other games, he really didn't wind up getting a true whole giant workload throughout the rest of the season. He had single-digit touches throughout the rest of the season, right? And that was the only game that he got double-digit touches, and he put up a 78.1 grade. He had a 76.4 running grade. He had a 75.5 fumbling grade. He looked really good. So if you give Bashal Tutin a full workload, you might be having a different discussion about what he is as a starting running back. I believe that he could be a starting running back in this league. I thought that when we saw him at the combine, I said, who is this kid? And why in the hell is he looking so damn good? And as soon as we said it, he put up the big 40 time number. As soon as we started talking about him, people were like, huh? And then everybody started watching him in drills, and everybody went,
Oh.
And everybody around us suddenly started paying attention to Bashal Tutin. And that's what it was. Everybody wanted to talk about Bashal Tutin after that. And when we started talking about him, the Liam Cohen guy next to us started talking about him, and so did his buddy with the laptop that was sitting in front of us. He wanted to start talking about him. So, I mean, like, it was just kind of interesting to see how Bashal Tutin, and if you recall the projections on him, 7th round, and he went 4th round. So I get kind of,
I'm like, we have premonitions. We have ideas.
Yeah, I think Bashal Tutin is one of those guys that not enough people are looking at. For all the fantasy football folks out there, I'd say, hey, draft Tutin and Rodriguez. I'd go after both. But for the folks that are just looking at this situation, for the Jags fans, yeah, I agree with Liam Cohen out here. Get excited about Bashal Tutin, because I think he's going to be your RB1 this year for your team, and I think you're going to be talking about him as a top 10 guy. He's one of those people where it's going to be like, hey, this is an exciting player to watch for this upcoming season. So get excited for Bashal Tutin. We like him a lot. We've liked him coming out of that draft class. Elsewhere around that division, let's talk about the Houston Texans. Former Texan star running back Joe Mixon has told his former teammates that he believes that his NFL career is over. There is quote unquote some hope, but Mixon's career is more than likely, there's some hope that Mixon's career is not over, but he's dealing with some sort of quote unquote freak medical condition, they're saying. So they're saying his career is more than likely over. We don't know what's going on with Joe Mixon right now. They're not being very transparent about what the medical condition is, but the rumor is right now that Joe Mixon, and look, I know that Boots is all like F Joe Mixon, he hates Joe Mixon and whatever the heck else, but Joe Mixon's career being over is a little surprising. He left. He wound up leaving the Texans it was last off during the offseason, winds up leaving. His last time he was with them, he left. It was due to a foot injury. It was really before the 2025 season, if I'm not mistaken. And here we are. Joe Mixon, he's gone. So I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with Joe Mixon, if he's going to come back to the league. He's about 30 years old, I believe, at this point. I think he left I think in 2025. He was 29, so he's 30 years old now, and here we go. Joe Mixon, we might have seen the last of him. It would be kind of a sad day if they lost him, but it would explain a lot as to why the Texans went after David Montgomery this offseason.
He just turned 30 years old yesterday. Yeah, his birthday is July 24th. So happy birthday, Joe Mixon. But I mean, it is definitely something to see. We thought that things were odd when he posted that image on Twitter about that foot specialist that he was seeing. We're sitting here going, hey, wait a minute, why is he seeing a foot specialist? I mean, do they know something we don't? So that's when the snowball really started to roll. And now that if he truly believes his career is over, I wonder if it's more than just this foot. I wonder if it's a mental issue. Could it be just something to where he just doesn't believe he's that guy anymore? They do have Woody Marks. They do have Nick Chubb. Especially, and Nick Chubb had his own gruesome leg injury, if you remember, from the Browns a couple of years ago. And
I don't even know if Nick Chubb is even with them anymore, to be honest with you. He might have been a 1 year off. I'd have to look. He was there last year, but Woody Marks basically wound up taking over the bulk of the carries, for all last season for the most part. But David Montgomery is their new RB1. Yeah, Chubb is a free agent right now, right? So, it looks like for all intents and purposes, according to ESPN, it looks like Nick Chubb is indeed a free agent. He's listed as of the Houston Texans, but, I don't see him on the roster.
So I mean, you got Montgomery and Marks. Those are the those are the guys that are those are the guys that are there. And now we got it. So the question must be asked. I mean, yes, Houston has one of the better defenses in the league, bar none, period. I mean, you got Will Anderson, you got Danielle Hunter, you got Nico Collins and those, and their schedule isn't all that easy either.
It's
so the question remains. I mean, are they going to have to
schedule?
They have a very tough schedule.
They have a tough schedule, but we believed that. I mean, if you recall, all of our season predictors, every single one of them, the Houston Texans were on top of the world, and every single one of us believed that the Houston Texans were going to be, hey, these guys are going to be, seed number 1, seed number 2, seed number 3. They're going to be on top of the AFC. That's the belief. So here we are. Are the Houston Texans gonna be the stars? Are the Steel Twins or are the Houston Texans gonna wind up being the kings of the universe here that we believe that they're gonna be? They don't have an easy schedule, but I do think this is a schedule that they can still dominate. I think this is a schedule that you're gonna see big time double-digit wins from the Houston Texans. I think this is what's gonna happen from them. They're gonna be big time here when it comes to the Houston Texans. David Montgomery being there is going to be massive for them. Massive. This is going to be a huge W for the Houston Texans, having him in there, that big power run. I think the Texans are going to be just fine. As for Joe Mixon, man, I don't know where the hell he's going to go. I have no idea what's going to happen with him. We're going to find out. But this is going to be an interesting little situation. Let's jump into a former Texan, DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins is currently working with the Patriots coaching staff at training camp. He's considering a coaching career. DeAndre Hopkins, if he were to come in as a wide receivers coach, let's say hypothetically for the Tampa Bay, or not for Tampa Bay, but for the New England Patriots, how well do you think this would go for the New England Patriots with DeAndre Hopkins as a receivers coach or as an assistant receivers coach or whatever the case may be?
I think it would work out really, really well. He's a veteran. He's been in the league for 13 years. He was first round number 27. I believe last cited with the Baltimore Ravens. We've seen his workload kind of come down over the years, but really, I really think I'd be for it. I'd be all for having DeAndre Hopkins take the coaching job. We've seen a lot of these players. D'Amico Ryans as a former player, now he's a head coach. Aaron Glenn used to play, now he's a defensive coordinator / head coach. To varying degrees of success. So, I'm all for it. I really think DeAndre Hopkins could give a nice edge to that receiving core. If he decides to become their coach, he could use his experience as a player to build those guys up.
Yeah, the former player coaches, it can be hit or miss. Kevin O'Connell is technically a former player coach. He's done incredibly well for the Minnesota Vikings, but we've seen former player coaches kind of come in and be successful at certain points. Jim Harbaugh, a former player, became coach, and obviously Jim Harbaugh has been incredibly successful with the Niners. He was successful with the Michigan Wolverines. Been very successful with the Chargers since coming into the league or coming back into the league. So we've seen that. So, I mean, on occasion, it works. Other occasions, it doesn't. So you mentioned D'Amico Ryans. It worked out very well for him. Did not work so well for a guy like Raheem Morris, though. We're going to have to wait and see, what happens with Aaron Glenn. So, it works for some guys, doesn't work so well for others. It worked well for Tony Dungy. So we'll see how that pans out. But at the end of the day, it could be a good thing for DeAndre Hopkins. We're going to see how he jumps into the whole situation. Let's also jump into let's talk about Tyreek Hill a little bit. Free agent wide receiver Tyreek Hill says, and I quote, "I have no power left in my left leg It follows a brutal ACL injury during the 2025 season. Alex, do you think it's the end of the Cheetah? Is Tyreek Hill gone for good?
Yep. The Cheetah has lost his speed, and we're probably gonna be singing that song. And we've come. I'm not going to do it today because it's not official yet. But yeah, I think Tyreek Hill is done so. If he's recognizing that he doesn't have the power that he needs to have in his leg to make those cuts and to get that burst of speed going, I don't think he has it. There are some injuries that happen in this league, and it changes the player. For worse, and unfortunately, this is one of those things. I mean, we're seeing it with Joe Mixon. We're definitely seeing it with Tyreek Hill.
Sure.
I seriously believe he's done.
Yeah, I do too. I think this is about curtains for him. I think we're going to see Tyreek Hill kind of hang him up. He's on the other side of 30. And now you've suffered. I mean, it was a gruesome injury. If you recall, he gets carted off the field and I think that's about all she wrote. The speed is probably not going to be there. I doubt he's going to get the speed back, and I think that's about it. Tyreek's going to collect that guaranteed money and be on his way out. Miami wound up releasing him, so he is a free agent, and I don't think anybody's going to wind up picking him back up. And at this stage, it was late in the season. He says he's got no power in his left leg. I don't know how you can have the speed when you have no power in your left leg. So that's going to be an issue in itself. So he's donezo. Let's go ahead and talk about free agent safety Jordan Whitehead. He's played with the Buccaneers and the Jets in recent years. He had recent workouts with the Colts and Texans. He's set to meet with other teams soon after being fully cleared to resume his football career post-neck surgery. So Jordan Whitehead, I mean, he's been around for a minute here. He was a stalwart with the Bucs and Jets for a while. I like Jordan Whitehead a lot. He's been a little bit of a journeyman between those two teams, but now out there as a free agent, I think a team would be silly not to take a shot on this guy. If you need a safety, this seems like it would be a logical move, right? Jordan Whitehead getting signed to your team, you could probably get him on a dime. Would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me. If you take a look at his numbers here, let's just take a look at what he's done, overall. I mean, he had a couple of years with the Jets, but here he's got his main port of call has been Tampa Bay. And if you take a look at this, he's had 394 solo tackles over his career, 163 assists. He had 2.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 2 fumble recoveries. So he's a turnover machine. He's a bit of a turnover machine. He hasn't seen a whole lot of snaps. If you take a look, at this, and okay, well, I don't know where my partner went.
Look, I lost.
There you are.
Yeah,
Hi.
I lost you for a minute there, but we're back. We're back. But
yeah, but no, it's like
Jordan Whitehead.
Yeah, with Jordan Whitehead, you have yourself a capable utility player, and if he's out there ready to get picked up, he would be a tremendous addition to your defense.
Yeah, when it comes to Jordan Whitehead, just looking at the situation here, if you're looking at his stats throughout the years, he didn't really do anything wonderful throughout. Obviously last season was a rough year with Tampa. He didn't play all 17 games, dealing with a lot. That's fine. But if you look at his other seasons, 2021, he had a 74.9 PFF grade, 22, a 66.1. Mainly effective in coverage, 68.9, 70.6, 72.2 in coverage. So basically a really solid coverage safety. But his main year in 2021 was his best year over there with the Tampa Bay Bucs, is really where he made his name. Somewhat of a rotational safety. He had 795 total snaps. I think this would be a really smart play. He's a good free safety. Much better as a strong, though. I would probably say, hey, come on over here and play some safety for me. If you paired him off in the right spot. Hey, I keep saying this. just because, and it's not, I promise it's not because I'm a flunky here, but folks, hey, Vikings,
Yeah.
you know, like you need a safety, you know, you need a safety. You picked up the kid from Miami. You need a safety. And Brian Flores' scheme is all about bringing blitz to take the pressure off of your defense. And this guy's a coverage safety. I'm just saying, it's just makes too much sense. Maybe I'm being too logical. Maybe I'm just thinking out loud here. But
I mean, it's definitely warranted. You know,
yeah.
Like I said, any team would be it would be a boon to pick him up and put him on your roster.
Right. Just makes too much sense. But hey, we'll see how it goes from there with that situation. Moving into our next little bit of news here. Speaking of safety, Seahawks safety Nick Emanwari, who went on the PUP list on Monday, is expected to miss some time following right ankle surgery, but should be ready for week 1. Now, we've talked about guys missing training camp. This is one of those situations where you're going to miss training camp because of ankle surgery. You're going to be ready for week 1, though. I don't like that.
That's what happened with
that.
Well, listen, that's what happened with Brandon Ayuk, and back me up on this. We saw Brandon Ayuk kind of fall off a cliff. Now,
yes,
granted, we can't sit here and say that Nick Emanwari is going to do the same thing, turn into the second coming of Antonio Brown. You know, yeah. I mean that's definitely, that's definitely a sight to see and a half. But it's still not good when you hear this news and you go, oh, he's going to miss some training camp. Well, you might be having some significant changes to your scheme, and
you miss training camp. You miss training camp, and that's bad news. That is one of those things where it's like, whoa. You're asking for injury at this point. You go to training camp to be ready for the season, so you're ready to rock and roll. It doesn't make sense to me here that they would even think about starting him, come week 1. I wouldn't even have him on the field. I would be sitting Emanwari for at least 3 weeks just to get him situated. I would put him on IR, and I wouldn't even start him for, probably to week 5 just to get things, make sure he's on par, make sure everything he's in shape for everybody. I'd say here, you're on IR for the first 4. Done. You have other options on defense if you're the Seattle Seahawks. I mean, so it's not the end of the world. And if we go ahead and play the schedule game for the defending world champions, their schedule is not a big point of contention either. I mean, yes, they got that week 1 Super Bowl rematch with the Patriots, but I mean, their schedule's pretty light. I mean, they're going to run into some problems with the Broncos, the Chiefs, and the Bears in the middle of the season, and division opponents always hit harder. They always do. We say that all the time. Even your Arizona Cardinals, even the Arizona Cardinals are going to probably give you some fits. But overall, I'm looking at the schedule and going, I can with the caliber team that they have, I could see them going 10-7, or 11-5, or 11-6. I can easily see them taking at least second place in the division. The only team that really has anything to say about that are the LA Rams. You don't have them until weeks 16 and 18. I mean, granted, that is one sandwich nobody wants to eat. But at the same time, it's like you'll be prepared for them by the time you get that far. Yeah, that's where things get really hairy, with the schedule. You take on the Rams. They seem to be the Super Bowl favorites this year right now, in spite of all the off-the-field bullshit that's going on this offseason. They seem to be the Super Bowl favorites. So we're going to be seeing what goes on with the Rams. But, yeah, they're going to be – the Seahawks, they will be without Emanwari. Speaking of the Rams, their former quarterback, current free agent quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo, he is open to playing this season after previously considering retirement. That's per NFL insider Mike Garafolo. Garafolo reported it would take the right situation for Garoppolo to return, such as an injury to a quarterback. So Jimmy Garoppolo, Jimmy G, we might see him back out on the field at some point this season if there's an injury to a quarterback or whatever the case may be. I'm a little surprised. Here we go again. Another. Well, first of all, I'm surprised that the Rams didn't pick him back up. Surprised that they did. I mean, I understand you drafted Ty Simpson, and that's fine. I'm surprised the Rams didn't pick him back up to make their quarterback room just fortified. I'm also surprised that the Minnesota Vikings didn't go and pick him up as a backup to fortify their quarterback room. I'm surprised that certain teams haven't made the move on Jimmy Garoppolo, in spite of him, contemplating retirement or whatever the case may be. I'm surprised teams didn't say, "Hey, Jimmy, why don't you come over here?" It would make a lot of sense to offer him the proper amount of money, or in Washington, "Hey, come on over here," or whatever the case may be. Let's fortify this quarterback room and let's do it now, and let's just pay the money and get the guy in the room. I'm a little surprised that teams wouldn't do something. Hey, Arizona, how about bring Jimmy G in the room? It just, or hey, how about this? Hey, why don't you come over to the LA Chargers and then back up Justin Herbert? Have a high end backup there. You're only good as your backup quarterback.
Yep.
And sometimes
why don't you come be
sense.
QB3 for Vegas Raiders?
Yeah. Come to Detroit. How about back up Jared Goff in Detroit? You're only as good as your backup quarterback. The Lions don't really have much of a backup quarterback.
Nope.
Go back up Goff. They got to make a move. Go to LaFleur and go up to Green Bay and say, hey, or go up there. It would just make too much sense. You got to get this guy up there. You got to get him taking some reps. You got to get your QB in the room, your backup QB in the room. Pay the money and get the guy in there. I know he doesn't want to come back unless he's starting or whatever the case may be, but at least have the guy in the room. Have him there, lock him down. Money talks and bullshit walks. Somebody's got to do it. Speaking of the Lions and Packers, both teams have some stuff going on. First, let's talk about the Lions tight end Sam Laporta, who underwent surgery last season to repair a herniated disc. He's been fully cleared for training camp per ESPN, so he'll be back out on the field. Good news for you, Alex?
Yeah, absolutely. And with the Lions, you've heard me say this time and again. They need all the help they can get. And hearing that Sam Laporta, has gotten his help, and now, if he's able to report to training camp, there you go. He's. Apparently it was a microdiscectomy last season to repair that fully herniated disc. He's scheduled to become an unrestricted free agent after this season. The Lions are going to have to make a decision on whether they're going to extend his contract or send him walking out the door. We don't know if he picked up his fifth-year option. It doesn't sound like
they did.
So they picked up his fifth-year option.
Well, no, I take that back. He didn't have a fifth-year option because he was a third-round pick, if I'm not mistaken, or a second-round pick. So he didn't even have a fifth-year option because he was outside of the first round.
He was picked in the second round, pick 34. But even then, the question still remains. Do you pay this man, or do you see that he doesn't really pan out and you let him walk? But at the same time, there are other teams out there that are chomping at the bit for a tight end the caliber of Sam Laporta, because he's had a pretty good year. He had a pretty good rookie year. He didn't break 1,000 yards per se, but he had 889 yards. He had 120 targets and 86 catches, 10 touchdowns, 48 first downs. His longest catch was for 48 yards. Slowed down a little bit in 24. And then in 25 he got hurt. So he's still, he's only 25.
Right.
He's young. He's got a lot of tread on the tires. So if Detroit lets this man walk, you really have to kind of look in a mirror and go, all right, Are you doing this because you have bigger ideas in mind, or did you wrap up all of your cap in 7 players? You know, you got Penei Sewell, Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Jahmyr Gibbs. You know, those guys are taking up the bulk of your cap space, and at some point, you know, you have to kind of have a come to Jesus moment and go, well, you know, we only got so much to hand out. You know, and if we have to let Laporta go, are we prepared to deal with the consequences?
Right, exactly. I think Laporta, Laporta's an interesting one. I think he could wind up having a breakout year in Drew Petzing's system. You know, like the offensive coordinator, Drew Petzing, you know, originally from Arizona, he's if you look at the success he had with Trey McBride out there in Arizona, we could see a resurgence for Sam Laporta, and then you could, if that happens, then you could be talking about the Lions paying Sam Laporta big time money. But then you also could be having a different conversation about, you know, oh well, you know, maybe Drew Petzing goes out the door, and then we're having a whole different conversation about, you know, who the offensive coordinator is if Drew Petzing doesn't work out. So we're not really sure, right? You're never really sure about what's going to happen with Laporta, with Petzing, whatever the case. So we will find out. Whoa, some big news just broke here.
Oh, breaking news.
1 second. Yeah, we got some breaking news here about the 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan got into a car crash. Kyle Shanahan suffers significant injuries in a car crash during his summer break, and he's limited as the team opens training camp. He broke his nose, 3 ribs, his hand. He needed 40 stitches in his face, suffered a severe concussion on July 14th in a car crash when he collided with an SUV near his Northern California home. Shanahan was taken by paramedics to the local hospital where he spent much of that day before being released. The other driver was not injured per Palo Alto Lieutenant Nicholas Martinez. Drugs and alcohol were not involved. Both drivers were cooperative with the police. No one was cited for the collision. Consistent with our standard release of information procedures in such cases, we do not release information regarding the cause of the collision or which party may have been at fault. Shanahan has been recovering at his home and is believed to be healing well, but with training camp starting on Sunday, which is tomorrow, doctors will not clear him for all activities until concussion symptoms clear. General Manager John Lynch is scheduled to hold news conferences at 1 p.m. today on Saturday, so that's within the next 45 minutes. 49ers assistant head coach and offensive line coach Chris Forster will assume some of the Shanahan's duties and help lead the team. Shanahan informed his assistant coaches Tuesday of the accident. Other players slowly have been getting the news that the 49ers confirmed Saturday in this statement. 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan was involved in a car accident last week where he suffered non-life-threatening injuries. Coach Shanahan will participate in team activities on a limited basis at the start of training camp while he recovers. Coach Shanahan and the 49ers organization would like to sincerely thank all of the first responders involved for their efforts and care. Assistant head coach Chris Forster, along with team coordinators, will handle head coach responsibilities during this period. The 2026 season is his 10th season. It'll tie in with Bill Walsh for the longest tenure by a head coach in the 49ers history. Shanahan enters this season with 82 regular season victories, third most in franchise history. With 11 wins this season, he would surpass Bill Walsh for second on that list. The Niners are slated to have their first practice of their 2026 training camp on Sunday morning. They open the season September 10th against the Rams in Melbourne, Australia. That's wild news, but Kyle Shanahan apparently got into a car accident last week. Popped up, suffered some pretty significant injuries. So the Niners will be without their head coach. So that's problematic.
Yep.
Especially one as good as Kyle Shanahan. So that's some breaking news that just popped through. That is all per ESPN, by the way. That article came straight from them. So I was just reading it from that. But wow, goodness gracious.
So first of all, I mean, what is it with people driving cars in the state of California? I mean, how many times have we seen stories about car wrecks or people getting pulled over for speeding and driving and all that stuff? But as far as it relates to the 49ers, you know, On the one hand, thank goodness they weren't, life-threatening. Thank goodness they weren't serious. I mean, but that still has to kind of play, it plays on the team's mind, collective mind. I mean, this is basically your head honcho, not being there for the first couple of days of training camp or however long it takes for him to fully participate in activities again. But, I believe that the 49ers have the staff that they need to keep things moving while Kyle Shanahan recovers. So as a 49ers fan, I wouldn't be worried. But at the same time, it's like it's really unfortunate news to hear this close to the season.
Yeah. It's just an interesting.
It's a debacle.
That would be the best word to use, a debacle. I'm a little surprised by this. I'm sure the Niners faithful are surprised by all this. This is just crazy news. So they're going to be without their head coach. Get well soon, Kyle Shanahan. I hope he is doing all right. So we hope to see that he winds up being okay. That is some news that just came through. Just started blowing up. My phone just started blowing up with that. So we just jumped right to it. Then our last two news pieces here before we jump into the NFL Top 100. Packers, they go out and sign defensive tackle Devontae Wyatt to a 3-year, $57 million extension.
Oh, there you go.
Well, I played the wrong sound there. I mean, although I'm not a big fan of the signing, but there you go, cha-ching. But Packers signed defensive tackle Devontae Wyatt to a 3-year, $57 million extension. It's $19 million per year, $20 million signing bonus. He kind of had a down year in 2025, just a 52.9 PFF grade with a 38.7 run defense grade. His pass rushing has sort of been his bread and butter since coming into the league. He posted grades of 71, 80.4, 71.7, 71.4 over the last 4 seasons. He never was higher, though, than 19th in pressures in a season, never had double-digit sacks. Kind of surprised by the amount of money they gave this guy as a defensive tackle. He's sort of a 3-tech, pass rushing 3-tech. I really kind of don't like this signing. I'm not going to lie. I really kind of don't like this signing. I think this is a lot of money to be giving a defensive tackle that hasn't been as productive as you want him to be.
We have questions.
As a Vikings fan, I'm like, go ahead and waste that money on him. It's like, I'm like, go ahead, my rival. But, on the other end, I'm going, like, just as a guy talking about, signings and stuff, this one just doesn't seem sensible to me. I don't like it. I'm not a fan. Alex, what say you?
I'm not a fan either. I'm looking at these numbers on Pro Football Focus, and they're not that impressive. And he hasn't played a full year to begin with. What are the two main tenets that we preach here on the Outside Blitz? Availability and reliability. And quite clearly, this man is neither. He was neither last year. So, I mean, again, as a football person in general, I have questions. Maybe it's a prove it deal, but at the same time, I'm like, this is multi-year though. So I'm like, prove it deals have typically been 1 year. 1 year, $8 million or $7 million or, depending on the position. But, for the amount of money you quoted, and I missed that I was dealing with some notifications, but it's enough for me to say I have questions.
To quote Randy Jackson, it's a no for me, dog.
Like,
I'm good for that.
Yeah, TLDR. That's the only thing you need to know.
It's a no for me, dog. But one that is a yes for me is linebacker Jordan Brooks. They signed the Dolphins go out and sign him to a 3-year, $51.3 million extension. $17.1 million per year. It's $35 million guaranteed. Now, this one I really like. He had a 77.8 PFF grade last year, which ranked him as the 10th best linebacker in the league. He had a 92 run defense grade, a 75 pass rush grade, which ranked 11th last season. The run defense grade ranked 3rd at the position last season. He was amongst the best linebackers in football last year. I like the signing a lot. He gets the guaranteed money. Jordan Brooks deserved every penny of this. I don't know if I was him, I probably wouldn't have signed with the Dolphins again, if I'm being honest with you. If I'm being perfectly honest, I would feel like I'm wasting my career sitting here with the Dolphins.
Especially since Miami, basically tore everything down to the studs, this last year. They're all Mother Hubbard with nothing in the cupboard but Jordan Brooks and not Davis Mills, Malik Willis.
There's not much there, and so now we're having a situation where we don't know what Miami's going to do, what they have. I mean, this guy is 28 years old and he just signs a 3-year deal, so this is going to take him to his age 31 season. I mean, if he's in his prime. This is the prime years. And now we're going to be talking about, I want to win a Super Bowl. And, bro, you ain't winning a Super Bowl with Miami.
No, sir.
I mean,
dare we even play the schedule game at this point? Because, we don't have high hopes for the Dolphins to begin with. But just to be fun, let's take a look at what they got. First of all, you got the 49ers week 2. Yes, you have the Raiders to start the weekend, but you're going to Vegas. You got 49ers, Chiefs, Vikings, Bengals in the AFC North. You have your division rival Jets and Patriots. So you're possibly looking at a 1-6 start to start the season. It's going to be rough. Then you got the Bills and the Jets back to back again. And you drew the short straw because you're also going against the NFC North. See, you got Vikings, Lions, Bears, Packers. So, and Bears and Packers are back to back. It's like
you got to go to Mile High to take on the Broncos.
Oh yeah, and we've always said the Dolphins don't do well in cold weather. They don't.
And that is on December the 6th. It's not going to be good.
No, sir.
It's not going to be a good situation. They're going to get the hell beat out of them this year.
Absolutely. November 22nd in Buffalo, you're hosting the Bills. Okay. For some weird reason, whenever the Miami Dolphins have hosted the Buffalo Bills, historically, the Bills, the Dolphins have had the Bills number at home. But this is when Tua Tagovailoa was a prominent quarterback. You had that triple threat in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and you had Devin Achane. Now it's like now you got studs, and not player studs. I mean wood studs holding your flimsy house of cards up. This is not going to be a fun season. So Jordan Brooks, if you really think you can help make this team make a difference, great. But honestly, he could have just taken an offer from a different team.
Yeah, you could have finished out this season, gone elsewhere for your 29 into 30 season and been done with the Dolphins. But a lot of questions there. But Jordan Brooks is with the Miami Dolphins, and those are the news and notes around the league. Alex, we're going to jump into our NFL Top 100 stuff, where we started jumping into this. Really, this began as a suggestion from the Bootleg Better, and we wanted to really just kind of continue this trend. It gets us through the summer, and we actually take this all the way to Super Bowl. And the first 50, obviously, we jump into it as we go by tens, and then when we get to the 50s, we start going by fives, and then we start switching into twos and
threes
when we get to the top 20.
To try to draw everything out. Plus, the higher ranked the player is, the more we have to say about him. That's not to say that. And that's not to say that, there are a lot of players, like we were talking these past 2 episodes. There are some players that are on this bottom half of the list that deserve to be way, way higher. How in the hell is Creed Humphrey in the bottom, 20 of the bottom 20
Yeah.
of the top 100. That makes no sense to us.
I don't get it.
And
I still
that guy
don't get it.
the guy from the Colts, it was
Quentin Nelson.
Quentin Nelson, way too low. He's 99.
Yeah.
That makes no sense. No, Quentin Nelson is easily, a top, in the 70s or the 60s. Great center for the Indianapolis Colts.
Guard for the Colts.
Guard. Yep. The
Interior.
point still
But-
stands.
Yeah. As for AJ Brown, he's at 80. As AJ Brown, he played 15 games last season, 78 receptions for 1,003 yards. Just broke 1,000. He had 7 receiving touchdowns. Per NFL.com, Brown's final season in Philadelphia featured more noise.
More noise off the field than on
That
it.
doesn't mean he was. Yeah, but that doesn't mean he wasn't still terrific between the lines. The new Patriots' #1 receiver was also the Eagles' top receiver in 2025, leading Philly in targets with 121 and catches, while recording his 3rd straight year with 7 touchdowns and his 4th in a row with more than 1,000. This wasn't Brown's best campaign, hence his drop in the top 100. But even through his struggles of 25, the physical wideout proved he's among the best in the game. For the NFL Pro Insight, Brown gained 263 receiving yards and a touchdown on hitch routes this season, 2nd in the NFL, trailing only George Pickens with 275. AJ Brown, a little bit of I hate to put it like this, but sort of a big mouth this last year. He kind of got a little loud. People got a little annoyed. There was a little bit of diva-ism to him, I guess you could call it. But he goes over to New England now. He's getting along with Drake May swimmingly, from what he's saying. A lot of his frustration came from the lack of, the poor passes from Jalen Hurts. Obviously, he was saying that Jalen Hurts during the flag football games was throwing ham sandwiches, and he said, these are the types of ham sandwiches that I got thrown in the league. And then at the same time, a lot of frustration with offensive coordinator Kevin Patullo, or as we call him, Kevin Patooey on this show, because he was so bad. But we're going to see if A.J. Brown can turn it around over there with the New England Patriots and Drake May. I think this is about right for Brown based on how he played last year. But, A.J. Brown, I want to see if he can turn it up moving into this upcoming year with Drake May. What say you?
Yep. He's always been a prominent figure in your fantasy team for the past couple of years, the Bob Wilson Memorial League. Hey, that's another exciting thing that's coming up in a couple weeks. But yeah, with A.J. Brown and the divaism, the thing that stuck out to me the most is when he was sitting on the sidelines reading his book. That was funny. And then the funny thing was he posted something on social media where he had mannequins for all of his previous jerseys. And with his Eagles jersey, there was a book in its pocket. So it's he knows how to have fun with himself. But, that's like T.O. That's like Terrell Owens, Chad Ochocinco stuff. We don't have to worry about him turning into Antonio Brown. I know.
Oh, thank God.
Thank God for that. That's what Brandon Ayuk's doing these days. But yeah, I agree that 80 is an appropriate mark for A.J. Brown. We're hoping he can climb the ranks when he goes with a different team. Hopefully Drake May will continue to prove us wrong, because that's another guy that we thought he was going to be fake May or Drake maybe. No. He's forged his way through, despite getting pounded into the dirt by the Seattle Seahawks. Although, to be fair, that was defense. But with this pairing of Drake May and A.J. Brown, we can expect some fireworks.
Yeah, I think we can. We're going to see if they can turn it up together. Number 79, down 42 spots. Travis Kelce, NFL.com says, though the Hall of Famer lost a step, Kelce remains one of the elite tight ends in the league, and the 36-year-old has some spring in his step. Take example that he had 463 yards after the catch in 2025, which was still 3rd amongst tight ends. The newly married superstar, who ranks 37th in last year's top 100, eclipsed 13,000 career receiving yards, becoming just the 3rd tight end to do so, while finishing 13th, his 13th season with 1,080 receptions, good for 8th all-time regardless of position. Having been voted to his 11th Pro Bowl, Kelce's best seasons might be in the rear view, but his peak form is still better than most. He's got at least one more season with the Chiefs, whom he led in catches, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns to wrap up what's been one of the greatest careers in NFL history for a tight end. Whether you're judging it with statistics, team success, or individual accolades, like his 11th straight top 100 spot, Kelce had more yards after the catch than expected on 44.6% of his catches in 2025, the fifth highest rate among tight ends with at least 40 receptions. Now, I want to point this out. It was a down year for Travis Kelce, but you know you're a damn good tight end when a down year for you is 76 receptions for 851 yards and 5 touchdowns with an 11.2 yards per reception. I just want to throw that out there. That's really high numbers for a tight end. And for that to be considered a down year, I mean, like, that's a high end numbers for a tight end around,
Absolutely.
And mind you, some of these numbers were without Mahomes on the field. Mm-hmm. Some of these numbers were without, I'm just saying, this guy did some incredible stuff last year without one of the best quarterbacks in the league, if not the best quarterback in the league on the field. I mean, it's pretty incredible. Travis Kelce, I think this is about right for him. He falls down the list because it was a down year, but
still incredibly impressive.
Yeah, still very impressive. Do you think this is a proper location for him?
Yes, sir. I have to say it before anybody else does. Holy shit, she finally went the distance.
She finally did.
So we saw his net worth kind of jump a little bit with his marriage to Taylor Swift. No news on whether she will take his name, Taylor Kelce, or Travis will become Travis Swift.
Yeah.
I know we joke about it around here, but you know something. He's really, he's figured life out, and it's so awesome to see Taylor Swift of all people, get into football the way she has,
Mm-hmm.
But she isn't like in between the pages in the books quite like us. But as far as Travis Kelce goes, when a down year is as statistically sound as you put it, he's still tight end 1 or tight end 2 in the league.
Yeah, that's kind of where it's at. As for old Taylor Swift, I mean, hey, listen, she was singing all those songs about, all these breakups and whatever the case may be, and how much she hated guys and whatever else, and how much she hated certain men. But I just kept telling her, listen, all she needed to do was shit or get off the pot, and she finally just shit. And there you go.
Oh my Lord!
So,
yeah.
So there you go. But now, next up, let's talk about Josh Sweat. Josh Sweat, his stock continues to rise among the NFL brethren. He's now made the top 100 for 2 straight years, rising 17 spots in the process. Arizona struggled to win. They got 3 wins last year, but Sweat largely flourished in his campaign with the Cardinals. His sacks were a career best in his 8th season, and so too were his 4 forced fumbles. There we go. Say that 3 times fast. A one-time Pro Bowler and Super Bowl champion with the Eagles, Sweat signed a lucrative free agent deal ahead of the 2025 season and backed up the money with a stellar season. Sweat, who led the Cardinals with 42 quarterback pressures last year, registered 3 turnovers caused by pressure. The rest of the Cardinals' defense combined for 4. Josh Sweat was outstanding last year. A huge reason he went with the Cardinals was because of the fact that Jonathan Gannon, his former defensive coordinator with the Eagles, became the head coach with the Cardinals. Sweat's contract went up with the Eagles. He went out the door to free agency, signed the big deal with the Cardinals, went with Jonathan Gannon, and then Gannon now is out the door. So we're going to have to see what happens with Josh Sweat in this list and how effective he is next year. He played all 17 games last year, 30 tackles, 13 tackles for loss, 12 sacks. So basically 25 tackles behind the line last year. He had 17 quarterback hits. Huge year for Josh Sweat. It was an up year for Josh Sweat. I agree with him being at 78. He's up 17 spots for good reason. This is about right for him.
Yep, I wholeheartedly agree. He was definitely the standout in that horrible Cardinals defense. When he registered 3 turnovers on his own, and the rest of the team combined for 4, that definitely tells you something. And do we think that Josh Sweat might pan out here or decide to request a trade? Do you think he requests a trade now that Jonathan Gannon skipped town?
It's possible. It's possible that Sweat could request a trade, or he could be out the door at the trade deadline. They could take him and say, "Hey, let's get him out of here." Let's say, "Hey, send him." We're losing, right? We're you said it could wind up with a 1-6 start to the season, right? It could be for them. It could be a bad start. All right, get out of here. Let's get some draft capital and move on. They could do that. So we could see the Cardinals make a move like that just to get something for him. The trade deadline is week 10. So imagine if
I thought it was week 10 or week 11.
Yeah, I think it's week 10. So let's say hypothetically speaking, we're in week 10 and they go, "Oh, hey, we're 2-8. All right, Josh, see you later." We're not making the playoffs now. Bye. Send them out the door. There could be an opportunity there.
Yep, Tuesday, November 10th, 2026. So,
yeah.
Yep. So that's the official date.
So that's week 10.
Yep. There you go.
So that's the Tuesday after week 10. So if you're 2-8 by then, and you got Josh Sweat, and he ain't happy, bye. Go get yourself some draft picks. Number 77, a guy down 27 spots on this list, Baker Mayfield. Daring and dogged, Mayfield started his third season with the Bucs in stellar fashion, throwing 16 of his 26 touchdowns to just 2 interceptions in his first 9 games. Toll on Tampa in large, they also did for Mayfield. He never missed a game, but he was a regular in the injury report. Still, he produced a career-high 382 rushing yards and 27 first downs on the ground. He's become Mayfield's standard. He was a gamer who did everything he could with his arm, his legs, and his moxie to lead the Bucs. His play and tenacity clearly continue to make the impression on league compatriots. Mayfield has never missed a start in 3 seasons with the Bucs, but he dealt with a rash of injuries last year. Most notably, he injured his non-throwing shoulder in Week 12 versus the Rams. He ended the year with a 90.6 rating, his lowest as a Buccaneer. He had a 99.2 rating from weeks 1 to 11 prior to injuring the shoulder. Baker Mayfield, a star all around. Alex, I know you love some Baker Mayfield. I know you're a huge fan. We love Baker Mayfield. He is a gamer. He's a battler. He's a fighter. He's just a nasty dude. He is just a nasty fighter all around. 63.2 completion percentage last year, 3,693 passing yards, 26 passing touchdowns. He did have 11 picks. 382 rushing yards. He did have a rush touchdown. He did have a ton of fumbles last year. He had 11 fumbles. It was a down year for Mayfield, but if you look at Baker and the things that he has been able to accomplish since coming to Tampa, I know they had a ton of injuries last year. I know they had a lot of issues with, offensive line problems. I know they had receiver issues. They had receivers hurt constantly. Emeka Egbuka for a while was like all they had there. Baker Mayfield, if I'm Baker Mayfield, seeing what the Buccaneers are going through, and now the Buccaneers are having a pissing match with me about my contract, I'm going in the offseason, I'm going bye-bye.
Yeah.
I'm leaving because I can get paid way better over here with elsewhere, and there are teams that would love to have me for $40 million a year.
Yeah, absolutely. He's worth every penny. He's getting on. I think he's still got some tread on the tires. Let me look up his age real quick. But as I'm doing that, let's just make it clear. Yes, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have fallen on hard times, and really, part of the problem, is coaching. I think Todd Bowles is a major thorn in the Buccaneers side right now. He's 31. So yep. Baker Mayfield, he's 31 years old. So with quarterbacks, you can. Well, Tom Brady is ageless. He was playing well into his 40s and winning Super Bowl rings. Winning more rings for his career than most teams have. So what does that tell you? But with Baker, he still has some gas in the tank. I would say he's got about 4 to 5 good years left. I'll make that a bold prediction. I may not make it an I believe, but you know what I mean. I would think that I think he does leave after this season. And you know, at that point, Tampa's going to really fall off a cliff. Between him and Vita Vea, which, you know, pay that guy again. We're going to say that again this week. Stamp the bingo card. But, you know, with this guy, you know, you want a competitor like this on your team. You know, one of the last things that he did with Mike Evans in Week 18, you know, he could have just taken a knee and walked out. You know, I don't know if it was last year or 2 years ago, but one of the last plays of the game, he helped Mike Evans get to 1,000 yards yet again. You know, I think for what, his 10th straight year or something. But I know that, but I know that there was a major incentive for him getting those numbers. I'm like, hey, let's just get him the ball one more time and get him that 1,000 yards. You know, that's the kind of guy he is, and that's the kind of guy you want on your team.
Yeah. True team player. I wanted to see him. I want to see him get paid big money down the stretch here. 31 years old, like you said. There's going to be a team out there that's going to give him a bag. They're going to give him 3-4 years. They're going to give him big money. It's going to be probably about $50 million for Baker Mayfield, and somebody's going to pay him that money, and they're going to say, "Come on over here and play football for us." And he's going to get paid handsomely for everything he's done in the NFL. So I hope he gets paid for it. Let's talk about J.C. Horn real quick. By the way, Alex, I want to chat real quick because somebody made a comment here, and I gotta point him. You got a good friend of yours, Chopper Chaz. Here, I gotta make a too many pillows. Let me tell you something about the pillows. Let me tell you something about these pillows behind me. All right, I am a married man. Okay, I am a married man, and when my wife wants to have pillows here, there are pillows everywhere. All right, and when she wants pillows, there are pillows, man. All right, I can't control the pillow situation. There are just so many pillows.
I will say this though. We are looking forward to, you know, I think we talked about this offline where we got the approval to start the barrage, or at least or to put stuff away for that. So stay tuned for that, kids, because when the barrage comes up, you know, the Casa del Freytown studio is going to have a really nice look. I'm really looking forward to that. You know, we're really going to try to see if we can replicate that Barstool look, you know, or better, you know, better than Barstool. You know, just stay tuned for that, kids, because we're definitely looking forward to that. But I just wanted to point that out too.
Yeah, you guys have gotten a glimpse over the course of the last couple of years with all the pillows, and trust me, I get it. But you know, just. You see this right here? That means pillows are everywhere. All right. But anyway, moving into number 76, let's talk about Mr. J.C. Horn. On the strength of his second Pro Bowl campaign, Horn's making his top 100 introduction, which I'm surprised by. J.C. Horn is making his introduction to this list. No doubt a byproduct of the Panthers winning the NFC South, making some noise. The number 8 pick of the 2021 draft joins his teammates Bryce Young and Derek Brown as debutantes of the prestigious list.
I believe it's pronounced. Nope. I believe it's pronounced debutantes.
Debutantes? Is that how I don't know.
I believe so. I mean, well, here's why is anybody using that word anyway? I mean, we'll have to look it up.
In any case, having struggled to stay on the field over his first 3 seasons, Horn played a career high of 16 games in 2025 and recorded a career high in picks. As Horn ascends, the Panthers are following. Horn totaled 5 interceptions, which when aligned to the boundary this season after coming away with just 2 such interceptions over the first 4 seasons of his career combined. J.C. Horn, you know, 37 tackles. He had a TFL this year, 8 passes defended, 5 picks. Not a bad season for J.C. Horn. To me, this is a little high for him, but still a very good season. He deserves to be on this list. I would have put him more toward, you know, the bottom half of the 80s, but love to see him on this list. I think this is a good spot.
I mean, would you probably swap places between him and Creed Humphrey, perhaps?
Probably.
Yeah, I mean, you know, because Creed Humphrey is way too low, way too low. But this is a great, you know, it's great to see a player like this make the list, and there's promise that there will be. There's promise that things are going to be better. So I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Yep. No surprise by this next one. Number 75, Budda Baker. He pops up on the list. Mr. Cardinal, as they're calling him. Geez, I know Pete's continues to produce after 9 seasons. Baker earned his 7th consecutive Pro Bowl selection, his 7th straight top 100 nod. He's 30 years old. He's set to celebrate a decade in the NFL in 2026 as he's about to play for his 5th full-time head coach. While coaches have changed and the Cardinals have struggled in the win-loss column, Baker has been a standout through and through. And again, this past season, he was just that. He had 56 run tackles, tied for 6th amongst defensive backs, and 9 run stuffs, which tied for 5th among DBs. He had 120 tackles, 4 tackles for a loss. He had half a sack, 5 passes defensed, an interception, and a fumble recovery. Budda Baker, always a high-level safety in this league. Drops 41 spots, but I do think a lot of that had a lot to do with the fact that Arizona stunk last year. And it wasn't anything that was his fault. I think Budda Baker still played at an extremely high level last year. I think they kind of factored in the fact that Arizona just stunk as a team overall, but I think Budda Baker played at an extremely high level for them last year still. So I'm a little surprised he's this low, but here we are.
Yeah, I mean, he's 5'10", 195 pounds. You know, he got a pretty good frame for a safety. You know, and he's nothing if not consistent. You know, if you want to put one word to describe Budda Baker's consistency, you know, he's had, you know, over the past 10 years, he's had at least 1 sack per year. You know, some years he had 2 sacks, some years he had none. But he's very, very consistent. You know, and he's definitely an asset for any defense out there. And the Cardinals should be very thankful. And I'm pretty sure they are, that they have him on their roster.
Absolutely. Number 74, Josh Jacobs. He had another solid season that was grinded out by him. He found the end zone 28 times on the ground in his 2 years with the Packers so far, coming 71 yards shy of his 5th year, 1,000-yard campaign. Jacobs' nose for the end zone led him to his 5th appearance in the top 100 and his 2nd in a row with Green Bay after earning 3 nods during his time with the Raiders. Pro Insight for him says that Jacobs had 30 scrimmage touchdowns through his first 30 games with the Packers, joined in 2024. That's the 5th highest by a veteran through his first 30 games of the new team since 1970. Josh Jacobs been a bulldozer for these guys. I think if he plays the last 2 games or the 2 games that he didn't play, he winds up with over 1,000 yards is for sure. I think this, to be honest with you, though, I think this is a little high for him. He wound up with just 4 yards per carry last year, which I thought was a little low. 13 rushing touchdowns, so he did get pay dirt quite a bit. He did get a receiving touchdown. He had 3 fumbles last year, but didn't break 1,000. So for him to be at 74, I would put him down the list a little further. He dropped 41 spots on this list compared to from last year, so the drop is merited, but I'm a little surprised that he only dropped to 74 as opposed to within the 80s. Again, Creed Humphrey, Quentin Nelson, both sitting below this guy right now. Both those guys played full seasons. Both those guys have been 2 of the best interior offensive linemen in football consistently. Creed Humphrey is the best center in football, so I'm a little flabbergasted that Josh Jacobs is sitting here at 74, while Creed Humphrey and then Quentin Nelson, who is one of the best guards, if not the best guard in football, is sitting that low as well. Put him up here. Number 73, Zach Allen. This guy we liked last year. So he's up 17 spots. When he made this list, we were actually really excited about the fact that Zach Allen hit this list. Boots and I were. Boots was fucking fired up about Zach Allen last year. I don't know if you remember this. Respect continues to be earned for Allen, who is an All-Pro and Pro Bowl selection for the first time in 2025. And is now a 2-time top 100 member. He did make, when he debuted last year, it was huge. A ballyhooed free agent signing from the Broncos ahead of the 2023 season. Allen has now become a driving force in Denver, emerging as one of the league's top defenses over the past 2 seasons. Allen has a combined for 15.5 sacks, has 8.5 and 7 sacks in 24 and 25, respectively, far exceeding his previous career bests. As the Broncos have risen to the AFC heavyweight status, Allen has been crucial as a reason as to why. Allen led the NFL with 47 quarterback hits in 2025 after also leading the NFL with 40 quarterback hits in 2024. This guy's a really good defensive end. He's not the guy, I think, on that defensive line, we always talk about a guy being the guy and then a guy being the other guy on that defensive line as that edge rusher. Zach Allen is sort of the other guy as an edge, but he's still efficient and effective as that other guy. And I think this is exactly what he is, and I think this is exactly where he needs to be on this list. Where are you at on it?
I'm with you 100%. Yeah, I have absolutely no qualms with this placement. If we take a quick look at his statistics, he didn't really have, he's definitely a sack machine. He really turned it up over the last couple of years after coming to Denver. He did, he even had a pick for 26 yards in 2021. But with the Cardinals, consistency again is key here. And he played a full season the last couple of years with Denver, so he only has up. He can only go up from here. I don't know how far up he can go from his current position in 73. He might tumble a couple of spots, but it's not like he's going to fall off the face of the earth. This guy's a solid player.
Yeah, he fits exactly what Sean Payton wants to do over there. I think this is an excellent fit for Denver. Number 72, a guy that fell 4 spots, Jordan Love, the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers. He played 15 games last year, 3,381 pass yards, 23 passing touchdowns, 6 interceptions. When Love is at his best, his game parallels around just about any gunslinger in the game. Take, for instance, his Week 13 and 14 run in which the Packers eked out one-score victories over the rival Lions and Bears, thanks to, in large part, Love's histrionics. In those 2 outings, the Packers' final 2 wins of the seasons, Love racked up 7 touchdowns to just 1 interception. Although his passing yards and touchdown tosses dropped from his previous 2 seasons, his 6 picks were a season low since he became the Packers quarterback 1, while his completion percentage, success percentage, passer rating were all as best since taking the Green Bay reins ahead of the 2023 season. Love's plus 20 EPA per drop back was the highest mark in the NFL, trailing only Drake May with a plus 0.25. That's per NFL.com. Jordan Love at 72. I'm not mad at it. I like Jordan Love a lot. As a quarterback, I think he gets a little too much hype, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. But I think as a quarterback, he is one of the more accurate quarterbacks in the NFL. I think it's safe to say that. I don't think it's an inaccurate statement to say that. As an accurate quarterback, he throws the ball well. He takes high percentage throws. He's not a bad quarterback by any stretch. I would call him mid-tier. I would probably say he's anywhere from that. We always talk about like Jared Goff, Kirk Cousins, those kinds of guys that for a while there were in, and Matt Stafford and Jordan Love. I would call those guys probably that, like, for a while they were in that 10 to 15 range. I'd put Jordan Love in that 10 to 15 range. And I think that's a safe spot to say, hey, this is a Jordan Love range right here. You could safely put him there and say it's about right. I think this is about right for him on this list, given, the slight decline.
Yep.
But yeah, this is where we're at.
Yep, I wholeheartedly agree. When you talk about the Green Bay Packers, they always seem to turn it on late in the season, and Jordan Love is no exception. If we take a quick peek skis at his Pro Football Focus grades, I'm interested to see what his statistics were like week to week in 2025. So if we take a look. Jordan Love. Okay, if I spelled it correctly, I'd be So, in the year 2025, if we take a look at his passing statistics, starting with let's just say week 13, because that's right around Thanksgiving. So let's get a look at these completions. 18, 17, 24, 8 against a game Chicago defense, and then 24 completions in the wild card game. So, and had a 91.2, 90.4, against Detroit and Chicago. And then, he kind of starts falling off a little bit, but still, it looks like he even got hurt or had the backup come in. Malik Willis came in for a couple of games, for a couple of weeks. And so yeah, in the month of November, November, December, and January are when you really have to watch out. When you're making your divisional stand or you're making your run to the playoffs, these guys are always going to be nipping at your heels. And Jordan Love is a really big reason why.
Yeah, Jordan Love is when he gets hot, he's hot. When he gets hot, especially in the playoffs, it's one of those times, the beginning of the playoffs, we've seen him, go off and make sure that the Packers are ready to roll late in the season. That's when he gets real hot, and get ready to watch I think eventually, and it's unfortunate to say, you're going to wind up seeing Jordan Love in a Super Bowl at some point here. I feel like it's going to happen. It's coming, and he's just going to get hot at the right time, and I don't like it. So, get ready for that. But Jordan Love sitting at 72, this is about right for him. And then 71, a guy that I actually think this is about right for him, maybe a little higher, Zay Flowers. He winds up at 71. NFL.com says the Ravens' top target has finally landed on the top 100, which I'm surprised that this is the first time he's on here. Right. Flowers' first appearance on the All-Star list comes after his best year statistically, one in which his receptions, yards, and receiving scores were each team highs and career bests, earning his second Pro Bowl bid. The slick and quick wideout began his season with a monster 143-yard week one. Unsurprisingly, his production dipped at times with Lamar Jackson injured, but he finished the season strong. Over his last 5 games, Flowers tallied 5 total touchdowns, 26 grabs, and 444 total receiving yards. Still just 25, Flowers flourished down the stretch. Bodes well for Baltimore bouncing back in 2026. We know Baltimore had a down year, but and then Flowers' 39.9 receiving EPA was 13th in the NFL and 10th among receivers. Look, he had 86 receptions for 1,211 yards, 5 receiving touchdowns. I'd like to see the receiving touchdowns get an uptick. He was going to get a little more help. I think that's a big thing for him when it comes to Baltimore. They might have a bounce back this year because of the guys that they have helping them. If you look at some of the guys coming in, and we talked about them a little bit more last week. We talked about Jacoby Lane. We talked about Elijah Surratt coming in. They got some receiver help over there that they've needed. Mark Andrews is going to be healthy, obviously, because they did lose Isaiah Likely. But there's going to be some help for the Baltimore Ravens here. I think it's going to be good. Zay Flowers is sort of a deep threat guy, like they said on this write-up. He's still a slick and silky smooth. That's what they say. He's great. So we're going to see what comes with Zay Flowers here, but I think this is about right for him. Maybe a little bit of a climb up this list, a slight climb, but Zay Flowers, here we go, baby. He's sitting at number 71. I think that's about right. Are you?
I am in agreement with this. It makes perfect sense to me. So, we saw that he popped off for 143 yards that week one. And then, he had the 124 yards against Pittsburgh the first time, 138 yards against Pittsburgh in week 18, that banger of a week 18 match, which, it always comes down to that one came down to the very last kick, week 18 is always a football, as an aside, week 18 is always a football holiday around these parts because there's so many things at stake. It's the last week of the season. But, when it comes to nut cutting time, you definitely want this guy on your team. You definitely have, one area that he really improved in was yards after the catch. He racked up 473 yak yards, which is a 5.5 average. This guy, if you're looking for a guy who's gonna come through for you, I think he does even more because we're only in year 3. We're coming up to year 4. And I don't know do we know if the Ravens have picked up Zay Flowers' 5-year option, or is that still a decision to be made?
They have picked up his 5th-year option. He'll be with the team through 2027. But he's got to, they're in the middle of contract negotiations. They want to get signed to a long-term deal. So we're going to find out if the Ravens can get him locked down.
The one thing that he does need to improve on, to me, he hasn't had a fumble at all until 2025 when he had 3 of them and he lost all 3 of them. So he had a little case of the butterfingers, but that can happen to pretty much anybody. I wouldn't write him off just for 1 year where he had 3 fumbles. I mean, he still broke 1,000 yards, and still had 5 touchdowns to add to his repertoire. So, you take the bad with the good, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to see what happens with Zay Flowers. I'm excited to see what he does. But with that, that's through 71 of the NFL Top 100. And Alex, that's our show, my friend. We're going to be getting out of here in a second. But before we get out of here, let's go ahead and talk about a few of our sponsors. First of all, let's talk about It's Your Time Massage. Amanda's a wonderful massage therapist. She does excellent work. You can get yourself a massage and book yourself for a massage over at iytmassage.com, or you can find her over there at It's Your Time Massage LLC on Facebook. You can book yourself a massage over here. She's the best of the best in the Metro Detroit area. If you're looking for a massage, Swedish or deep tissue massage, you can get a little bit extra with the CBD oil. You can get yourself red light therapy. You can get yourself a foot sugar scrub. She is amazing at what she does. Amanda is tremendous. You got to check it out. It's Your Time Massage LLC on Facebook, or you can find her at iytmassage.com. And remember, folks, it's your time. Also, you can make sure you get yourself one of those wonderful Profis. Profis, that's a protein coffee over there at P&L Profi. You can get one of those while you're over here at iytmassage.com. So you get yourself a massage at It's Your Time Massage. You can go to P&L Profi. You can get yourself one of those protein coffees. They're amazing. They're going to help you refuel. They're going to help you wake up. They're going to help you perk up there a little bit. Great for the diet. Very keto friendly. I drink one every morning. They're amazing. Check them out, P&L Profi. Also, let's talk about Steel Twins Gaming. Alex, what do you got going on over there at Steel Twins Gaming?
Well, do you like video games? I do. Hey, do you like theater? Sure, why not? The Steel Twins Gaming may just be what you're looking for. Whether it's the good old first-person shooter, RPG, or your favorite story-based adventures, we think we have something for just about everyone. We've got everything you need to satisfy your digital cravings, and best of all, our channel has something nobody else has: voice acting. Every week, my brother and I will play a game that has a lot of text-based dialogue, and we will act it out with the voices that come up in our heads for the characters you see on screen. Sometimes we do our best to highlight the drama of the situation. Other times, we just goof off to have a good time. Either way, we're sure you'll be entertained. We are on each and every Saturday or Sunday afternoon at 2:30 p.m., including today. As soon as, when I get off of this podcast, I'll take a little break, get a little refreshment, and then we will be live and in public for the next episode of Voice Acting. We're in season 21, and you can always follow us on Twitter at SteelTwinsAlex to keep up to date on our shenanigans. And folks, don't forget the brother channel, Steel Twins Andy. It is there. You will get your full fix of Nostalgic Mondays, Nintendo Tuesdays, FPS Wednesdays, Indie Thursdays, and Open World Fridays.
Yes, absolutely. You got to check out both those channels. It's good stuff. Also, let's talk about books.
Ooh, we love books. Those things, you mean those things we don't read?
Yeah, let's talk about I Ate Cookies Out of the Trash. It's an inspirational guide written by Tammy Pruitt, an amazing author. It's based on her real-life experiences dealing with body image and eating issues. She shapes her book with her struggles and how to overcome them. It's supported with research-based facts and accompanied by her professional advice as a registered dietitian. And she lets others know that they're not alone in struggling with self-love and body image and disordered eating. But listen, Tammy's not your stereotypical health guru who runs 7 miles a day and judges people for the type of unhealthy food they consume. And let me tell you something, though. She is running marathons these days, which is very impressive. Instead, she's like the type of friend you never had, though. She's the kind that encourages you, and she motivates you to rise above those dilemmas, and she takes you on a trip down memory lane where life pitted challenges against her and what she did to get through them. She's like the type of friend you never had, guys. And let me tell you something. The book reads like a conversation, but not a boring one. She goes out there and she teaches you all about this stuff as a registered dietitian. And she also tells you the story about why she ate cookies out of the trash. It's a great book. It's an excellent read. You got to find it on all the .coms. You got to go to Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. You can go to applebooks.com. You got to get it on all the .coms. You can get it in a paperback, you can get it a hardcover, or you can get the digital copy of it. You got to check it out. Get it on the .coms. You got to take your little keyboard. You got to go on there and type on the keyboard. You can even, as Boots says, you can ask Jeeves. I don't even think that's a thing anymore, but you got to go on there. Yeah, I don't think it's a thing. But in any case, you got to go on and you got to go and find I Ate Cookies Out of the Trash by Tammy Pruitt. She's an amazing author. It's a great book. And yeah, really check it out. It's amazing. And also, let's talk about No Shot Bot TTV. Our buddy Will, you know, he's hang on. I got my scripts all messed up here. But No Shot Bot TTV, the artist formerly known as Big Willie Dubs Gaming, now known as No Shot Bot TTV. He's doing some great stuff over there at his channel over there on Twitch, on Kick, on the TikTok.
The TikTok.
He's an online the TikTok, yep. He's an online content creator, part-time FPS shooter and streamer on Twitch. You can find him all his short-form content on the TikTok. You can browse all of his on the TikTok. Yep, you can browse his custom apparel and accessories on No Shot Bot TTV merch store. You know, listen, he is a gamer dad. This dude is one of our very best friends in the whole world. He does amazing stuff over there on his channel, a lot of his first-person shooter stuff. He's part of a gaming team known as Team MVS.
Get it?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. But it's good stuff. All of his content is fun, and he doesn't just do, you know, the first-person shooter stuff. He also does some other content on his channel where, you know, he does the Hot Ones challenge. He does stuff like that. He does the Jelly Beans challenge. You know, or the jelly bean, we ate roast jelly beans on his channel. It was fun stuff. Or he threatens to, you know, shave his beard off or whatever the case may be. It's a very entertaining stuff. Started in the he rebranded in the summer of 2023 over there as he was originally Big Willie Dubs Gaming. Switched over to No Shot Bot TTV. It's a really fun page. I highly recommend it. He says he's consistently inconsistent with full-time ambitions, and that's okay. That's okay, but he's trying to make it a labor of love, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But before I get off this topic, I wanted to give a quick shout out here to Will. We had a situation here on today as opposed to yesterday. We were going to be going live yesterday. We had a little situation yesterday with our good friend Will over there at No Shot Bot TTV. I've known Will a long time. Alex has known Will a long time. We've been very good friends. He's one of our very best friends in the whole world. He stood up in my wedding. That's how close we are. And we've gotten to know his wonderful mother, Ms. Bev Waters. We got to meet her, and we got to know Bev for a long time. She was at the twins' birthday party. My wife and I have twins. She got to be at the twins' birthday party. And Bev, unfortunately, she passed away yesterday morning, and we wanted to offer our sincerest condolences to Will and the entire Waters family. Just a sad situation. You know, we appreciate everything that Bev and all the love that Bev gave us over the years. We always talk about, as former professional wrestlers, we always talk about wrestling moms. And wrestling moms that come around, and she was the true epitome of a wrestling mom. She came around, she supported us, she loved every one of us, she treated all of us with all the love and all the respect in the world, and she always met you with a nice warm hug. She was one of the best people that you could meet in the wrestling business. You know, she was the true wrestling mom. You know, and you'd never really. People always talk about wrestling moms. No, that was a real wrestling mom. So it was just. She was an amazing woman, an amazing person, and she just loved everybody. And we're going to miss her. You know, so shout out to Will and the entire Waters family. We love you guys. The whole family over there at No Shot Bot. We love you guys. And you know, Bev, we love you. And we're going to miss you so much. So with that, folks, that is our show. Alex, we got a big time show coming up next week. Hopefully Boots is going to be back. We're hoping, I'm going to say hoping, to get the bootleg better to give us his season predictor. We will get that in before the season begins. So I promise everybody that we will get the bootleg betters season predictor before the season begins. We do have more of the NFL Top 100 coming around the corner. We're going to be going into that stuff. We got some fantasy football stuff we're going to be talking about down the stretch here. So that's going to be content we're going to be talking about. We've got our fantasy football draft that's going to be happening. It's going to be coming on August the 22nd. So that will be a thing. So we will be recording and we'll be going live on here, and then we're going to be recording and we'll be posting stuff. But we might even, I don't know if we're going to go live for the fantasy draft, but we'll find out. But we will post our fantasy draft results, which will be fun. I mean, we're going to have a good time. We've got another month worth of content. I hope everybody joins us for all of our good stuff. And then the season is going to be opening. We are, 4 weeks away from football now, I think?
Yep, I believe so. And again, the Hall of Fame game, again, is in 2 weeks on August 6th. And the season proper kicks off on Tuesday, September the 8th, with the Seahawks and the Patriots, a Super Bowl matchup, a Super Bowl rematch. We're definitely going to be there for that. Wednesday the 9th, we're going to have Niners and Rams in Australia, of all places. So pay attention to the 2 weeks after, to the week after, where the Rams and the 49ers have to come back from that trip, because there's going to be a jet lag, a go there. But we are definitely very, very excited for the season to begin.
Yeah, absolutely. We're fired up. I know the first game of the preseason, the Hall of Fame game, isn't anything to be excited about, but we've got a lot of preseason football to get excited for. We're getting our football fix here coming in. I mean, it's coming in hot. The NFL is getting ready to fire back up. Listen, I wanted to get my football fix with the UFL. Really, I did. But I couldn't this year because they canceled my Michigan Panthers. So I ain't going to be back until my Michigan Panthers come back. You guys did me a disservice. I ain't coming back to the UFL. I don't have any desire. You took my Michigan Panthers and you ripped them away from me. So I have zero desire to come walking back to watch the UFL until the Michigan Panthers are back. So, but with that, Alex, that's our show. Folks, we're going to be getting out of here. Enjoy your Saturday. It's about 1:15. I got ribs in the smoke. So I hope everybody has a wonderful weekend and a wonderful week, and we will see you next weekend right here on the Outside Blitz.
I bet you'll watch again and listen again. And with that, pow, we're gone. Voice acting at 2:30, everybody.